Hey there, Silver-Tongued Devil here, and in this live stream we are back on Unchained, but not with the usual twist. No, today we are going to be playing the actual game. Not Fletcher, not Mortal, not Purist, not Siege, but no, the main game that nobody ever talks about and no one's interested in. Well, that's not entirely true. I'm actually looking forward to playing the main game. It's been a while. You have to pick items up and everything. Great stuff. So the plan is to do this from the start and see what my run looks like. This will be what I would class as my season run. So because I haven't got a massive amount of time to do everything that is supposed to be on the cards and then some. And I'm definitely not going to try and compete with the big boys on bow and crossbow, because these scores take 40, 60, 80, 100 hours to achieve, and I've been there and I've done that, and to be fair, it is actually harder now. So what I figured is we'll start from the very beginning. I would like as many questions as anybody would like to ask, whether I have answered them in the past, whether you feel stupid asking them, I don't care. Just ask anyway. You might be doing somebody else a favour, and you'll probably twig me on for another 10 minutes worth of talking. Not that I really need much encouragement, but chat participation is encouraged if you can get a word in edgeways. Right, so first things first. What percentage should you be at in the game if you are starting a proper scoring main run? You should be at 100%. Why? Because you have everything unlocked and nothing to do. So everything is done and you can concentrate on what you're doing. Another reason to have 100%, because we don't need everything that's in here. It will affect your scoring into the high 90s at the very least. If you don't have certain things unlocked, it will affect your scoring. The other thing on top of this as well, and more importantly, the tournaments that come up, 100% progress has actually given players that have it an advantage over those that don't. Not a massive advantage, but when you're talking about seconds and fractions of points determining like top 10s and winners, well, I'd rather have 100% than not. So we're going to be doing it. This is the main game. This is how the game is actually played before they added all the other bits and pieces. So we're at our 100% completion. We have our trusty bow. The next thing we need to do is select amulets. There is not much of a selection here for me because I'm old hat now and I've played this game a lot. Anakim isn't a problem. The only two here that are under consideration are Blessed Quiver and Anakim's Flaw. The Blessed Quiver will give me 33% extra of a special arrow that I like. Now, that's good news, if you ask me. More of what I want when I want it is always a good thing. The problem with Anakim's Flaw is the way that I can teach you how to beat him. This is then rendered null and void, basically. So it's out of Blessed Quiver and Anakim's Flaw. Other amulets can come into their own on other modes, but not the main mode. Now, where we're going to start. Desolation isn't quite as good for scoring, but it is a good place to set up, and we do have a golden bat there. So normally when I would play a main run, I would start with Desolation, and to be fair, I haven't seen an awful lot of it on the Quest 3, and I also haven't seen a massive amount of it on the, or you won't have streamed a massive amount of it. So Desolation would be a good place to start. The other thing that I would say as well, the golden bat is on Desolation. If we kill the bat on Desolation, it'll then switch into Purgatory. What does the golden bat give us? A high ranking special arrow. Could be something useful. Worth a check. Now, the one thing that we do know about Desolation is it is not any different really on the scoring front. Although Desolation is supposed to be better for scoring, I don't see it. Hello, Mr. Fish. How are we doing? Let me just see who I've missed and then we'll get going. Just Mr. Fish. Hello, Mr. Fish. Right, so we are going to start on Desolation, and the reason why we're starting on Desolation, there's a golden bat here. The other thing I find as well is you seem to get a higher tier of arrow in Desolation. Don't know if it's a placebo effect, don't know if it's something that's programmed in. I just find that you get more holy armors here, and it can give you a decent start. So, let's begin. I'll talk about bats later. We're going to look at the basic enemies first. I'm putting the controller under my chin right now. I wouldn't worry too much about headshotting things like that at this stage. Now, knights. First problem for us. So, if a knight cannot path to you, he will throw axes. Be you a gap between him and you, or if you are up on something that he can't reach you on. He's not particularly quick on the old reaction side of things, are you, fella? A headshot will usually put pave to them. Couple of body shots with white ones will usually do the job as well. Knights will basically attempt to charge at you if they have line of sight or pathing to you. If they don't have pathing to you, they will try and throw axes to you. They will move to a point to try and throw an axe at you. So, abominations. Now, these guys are even easier to deal with. They're slow, they're clunky, and if you get up on something, they don't move. So, and it doesn't even need to be that high. I mean, he's having a go, aren't you? What a lad. But it doesn't even need to be that high a thing. And a lot of the time, this guy's close enough, but he still can't hit me. Stop it, you're ruining my example. So, this is a perfect example. An abomination doesn't have anything to throw at you. Because he doesn't have anything to throw at me, all he can do is stand there and watch. Now, headshots are how you score. This is known, I think, by now. The further you can increase the distance of those headshots, the more points you score. So knowing that information, that getting up high with a lot of the melee type enemies in the game stops them in their tracks, allows you to open up the distance so that you can go for a longer headshot. Now, another thing that I do keep seeing as far as the chat is concerned, oh, it says that I'm getting 748 points, but it doesn't tell me that that's how many points that I'm getting. No, 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 no. The red number that comes up on anything is the amount of damage dealt. If you notice when I hit this dude, they will wander around a little bit, but then they'll do one of two things, actually. One, this happens more in Abyss than it does on this one. If you're up very high, they'll try and get underneath you to try and make the shot quite difficult. But if you are, you know, just above head height sort of thing, they'll usually just stand still and wait to be shot. So the yellow number is gold. Ooh, screamer. The yellow number is gold. The red number, you'll note, it has a... Oh! It's the Mr. Tango Man himself. So you'll note that when I hit this dude... Damn. That number, 106, is the amount of damage done. Note how there is a negative symbol before the number. And that denotes that we are doing damage, we are taking. So it cannot be anything to do with points. Oh yeah! Arrows drop on this game. I forget these things. I'll pick up these arrows. I'm probably not going to use a lot of them. But the reason why I wouldn't use special arrows at this stage of the game is if you are not killing things with headshots, you are taking points away from yourself. So we will try and deal with the threats first and foremost. There we go. Lovely. I know, right? My accuracy is insanely good. It must be the pro controllers, Weebs. Must be. So again, I'm standing up high, so these guys will line up to throw an axe at me. Now, something that you can do, which I've made use of a lot in the past, is if you get up to a position where they start getting ready to throw axes at you, try and get them to do it in unison. They're not going to. Once they are in their animation, they're stuck. So I can now teleport behind them whilst they're throwing axes up there and put a headshot on him and a headshot on him. And, well, he escaped out of it. But it's something else that you can do is their wind-up and their animation. Ooh, that was the wrong button because I've been playing the crossbow. He's actually lucky not to take damage there. So when they are winding up to throw their axes, if you jump straight down next to them, they will continue to throw their axe up there, and it takes them a very long time to finish that process before they can do anything. We'll try and remember that we've got Blood of the Lambs, but memory is not one of my strong suits. So we will talk, if you remind me later on, we will talk about that. The one thing that I will say is, I don't think, my concern with the Pro Controllers, because that's what I'm using, and this is what I'm sure me and Weeble will be discussing, my problem with them is £300 is a lot of money for something that does fractional benefits. But I mean, you know, I can fire from the belly button here. I can put the other controller behind my head and actually sight down the arrow so that I can actually get a sight picture, which is something that I've never done in this game. So it doesn't make a lot of odds to me. I think it is improving my siege game, because it basically means that the thing that I used to have to do when you get the arrow do that, or that's an exaggeration, but when you pull it and it does that, and then you have to kind of like re-notch. Get out the face. You have to like, so with Siege of Heaven, if you miss an arrow, you lose your combo. You can lose your perfect, you can lose massive amounts of score. And Beanie has the same thing. A lot of the top players will do the same thing, is they'll pull the arrow and it'll do this, and it'll be like slightly canted to one side, and what you basically have to do is see that that's happening, put the arrow back so that it doesn't fire, let go, and then redraw, and then that usually sorts it out. I'll be honest, since I've had the pros, I haven't had that. I don't even think I've had that once. So, as I said, they're good, but they are not £300 good. I was able to justify it because I need controllers to be able to stream, and to keep up with my streaming schedule of 2 streams a week, I haven't got time to be without controllers whilst I'm waiting for them to come back from Meta. As good a service as they do with the controller replacements, it takes a while. So, yeah. So, we'll talk about ghosts when we also get into the portal. Fancy the Pro controls. My arrows do that all the time. Yeah. Oh, right, okay, yeah. Von doesn't see these. I think it's to do with her cataracts or something, I don't know, but she can't see those. We'll talk about portals when we get in them. So, that means that I have alerted the Exorcist. If you are going for any achievements involving the Exorcist, hello Mr. Popo, if you are going for any achievements involving the Exorcist on Desolation, the moment that that has happened, you won't be able to get the ones where you take him out without shooting, without alerting him. That's him alerted now. And it can be just as simple. A lot of people that have said like, oh, I got it, but the achievement didn't pop for me. The likelihood is you did that as you were just traveling around the place, and you literally brushed the top. I've done it before. You've brushed the top of a staircase, and that's triggered the enemy. So with knights, You do not want to be using your shield in this game if you can help it. Your better shout is to use the shard. The reason being is because the shield isn't all that when it comes to blocking. Part of the reason, I think, is because a lot of people use the shield like that, as you should. And the problem that you can get with that is if you hold it too close, the hitbox is somewhere around here, and there are times when the axe will be hitting the shield but pass through the hitbox for the player, resulting in a loss of life. A lot of players like to hold the shield out like this in a kind of like catcher's kind of like a catcher's mitt sort of thing, and use the back end of the shield. That's actually better because that movement is quite natural. I do that in karate. It's one of the blocks that we use. That movement is quite natural. I don't like doing it though, because that's not how you bloody use shields, is it? I'm trying to get immersed here. It is very good though. If I need to make sure that I block something, I usually do it that way as well. The other way that you can block, and this is more towards melee enemies, is the namely apt Captain America that Monk Hunter used to do, or did when he had a channel, and that's holding it out in front of you. And this can be used for quite a lot of things, but the whole point is the hit connects with the shield before it gets anywhere near you. So if you have the hitbox for the shield right out in front of you, it hits the shield and not you. Not very good for blocking arrows, because yeah, that's just not how you do it. So as far as the Exorcist side of things is concerned, could I say anything about the most powerful thing in the entire game called slow time? Yeah, I probably got a couple of words for that. So we're going to be using a lot of slow time here. If you don't know how to put this game into slow time, you know that button where you select your special arrows? That puts the game into slow time, and you can put it into slow time for 5 seconds and then release it and put it back into slow time for 5 seconds, and you can do that as often as you like. No cool bar, no cooldown, no bar, no stamina, no gauge, no nothing. You put the game into slow time with that button, and it's how you play the game. Hell, if you watch me playing Mortal at the moment, you would think that this game is some kind of stop-go animation series. You really would, because you use it a lot. To demonstrate, slow time, shot, slow time, shot, shot, slow time, shot, slow time. That wasn't quite as accurate as I was hoping for. Shot, slow time. And you'll note that as soon as I release my arrow, I am back on slow time. Now, I don't need that at this stage of the game, but I don't need that level of slow time at this stage of the game, but it is a good place to practice. A very good place to practice on the lower levels for you to be able to get your slow time proficiency high. Because if you can slow time well in this game, you can pretty much accomplish anything. And then special arrows kind of become a bit of a caveat, or something that you use. I wish they'd have done this more within the game. It is very good lighting for Request 3. Anyway, so special arrows become something that you can quicken fights up with and make engagements a lot more safer. But the fact of the matter is, if you can use slow time well, I mean, I'd argue that unless you're getting to the stupidly high cycles, you don't need special arrows. They literally just become a control medium as opposed to something that you use to take things out. Now, as we pick up special arrows, I'll show you what you should be aiming for at all levels. And there'll be a couple of caveats with that, because there are some arrows that you do need to use to begin with to kind of train yourself up and be able to get further, namely Tempest. And then at a different stage of your career within IDU, you get rid of Tempests. Now, for anybody who's at that stage, I know Tempest is the greatest arrow of all time. Tempest is the best arrow ever. It is, but it's like Wrath of God. Wrath of God is amazing when you get it, but it's actually quite weak and you don't get very many of them, and it becomes more of a nuisance than anything else. Tempest is kind of like IDU training wheels. I'm not belittling anybody who uses it. It's just the Tempest allows you to hit those long-range shots without a lot of effort. And as you progress into the game, you'll find that your aim gets good enough that you don't need Tempest because you can reliably hit those shots. But once you are learning the game, then being able to reliably and quickly hit those shots is a boon to you and your play. Now, Skeleton Warriors. Skeleton Warriors, so I'm using lots of slow time just to kind of show off. Now, Skeleton Warriors will teleport to you, and then they will do one of two things. They will wind up for an attack, or they will have already started. I've seen this happening less and less, thankfully. I've seen plenty of times where a Skeleton Warrior winds up for its attack before it starts to teleport, and then just comes at you with a diving lunge from anywhere. I haven't actually seen that, because I've been playing a lot of Mortal. Haven't actually seen that for quite some time, and Skeleton Warriors, believe you me, are well worth going after at the later stages. Yeah, cheers for giving me the groin, you bony bastard. These, if anybody at Super Bright is watching, the skeletons are great enemies, but they need love. So, here's another thing that is definitely a thing. Those fireballs are moving ridiculously fast for Cycle 1. And so I think there's something wrong there, if I'm honest. Oh, hello. Because that fireball is very fast for this. If you watch how fast that fireball is, when I get to Cycle 2, you'll see that those fireballs actually slow down. Don't know if it's just a pit thing. So Incubi are a reasonably easy deal. Their heads are big. That is a good place to train your headshotting. Their head is also, like most enemies, a weak point. Most enemies stagger for longer when you headshot them if you don't KO them. Incubi, it stops them casting their spells. It also knocks them back from you. So that's actually quite a boon to scoring, but we'll talk about that. Ah, the biggest, boniest bastard there is going. Skeleton archers are the bane of any player, regardless of your level. Part of the reason being, or I think the main... Good dodge, you little shit. Part of the reason being is they are one of the few enemies in the game at any stage, I do believe. I can't even see the heads here. At any stage. They are one of the few enemies at any stage that can specifically teleport outside of your line of sight. I'll explain. Oh! Explain what I mean by that in a minute. Yes, Incubi are actually at the much later cycles because of the amount of life that they have and how easy the heads are to hit at ridiculous distances, and that as you hit them in the head, the distances get even further. They just basically become an absolute points bag. They're more valuable to the top the top level players at the really high cycles than an orphan is. And orphans are like the biggest scoring thing that you can kill in the game. So, let's kill these skeletons. I'm not doing so well with these headshots. That was quick. And that was using slow time as well. Yeah, those are moving well fast. Well faster than they should be. Do note that with playing this very carefully, tell that I'm bored of playing Mortal at the moment. Ridiculously careful on Mortal. So, right, let's just slow that down a second. Don't do what I just did and just leap into the middle of the room. That's a quick way, especially at an early stage, of getting killed. When ability... Yeah. Ability is not high. So those guys will leave there. We can come back for them anytime. One of the things that leaving those guys in their cells will do will stop quite as many enemies spawning together in big groups. That's especially true of pits. The game can only process having so many enemies around you, and if the enemy count is already populated, then that means less can spawn around. There you go, see? Has only just spawned in because there's a lot of things there and a lot of things there, and now that I've got a bit closer and have been able to approach, she's now here. Do we have anything to talk about more with you guys? I don't think so. But yeah, super bright. Sort the graphics out on these guys. Skeletons are a great enemy in this game, and they need love. As do ghosts. And then I think you're done with enemies. I don't think anything else looks particularly bad. So we'll leave those guys for now. So it depends on what sort of cycle you're talking. So you, part and parcel of the quiver that you put together for the later cycles, one of the big arrows in there used to be Cat 5, but then the further and further players like myself and others have got, the more we realized we needed something that was even heavier hitting. Cat 5 is kind of a little bit of a training wheels, I suppose, because Volley 5 does a lot more damage right up close and personal, and that's the reason why we take Cat 5, whereas Cat 5 has those explosions going off, which also put the game into slow time as well, and these are all things that help. One of the things that you can do at the later stages is you can put a Hand of God bubble down on an orphan if they've got a ridiculously huge amount of life. And then you can get right next to them and volley 5. If anybody's seen or go check out my Orph Annihilation Fletcher videos, where I purposely get something like a 5-shot arrow, so volley 5, DS 5, Divine Sight 5, that is, sorry, or even the 3s. And basically what happens with these arrows that have multiple... show you, because you can do it with lightning. With these arrows that have multiple... or these specials that have multiple arrows, if you get right close to them, note how it puts all 3 into the skull, even though we're not actually close enough to do that. Whereas if I'm a little bit further back... well, that wasn't a very good example, was it? Hang on, let's try and get one close to me a second. They'll actually spread out. Now, the rub of that is actually another very cool technique that you can do that I've started adapting with DS5, and it was more of a competition thing. Oh, a quick thing to note with ghosts as well. Yes, they're a nasty enemy. One of the things that you can find is not having the accuracy to actually hit those white spots. Let me get this guy out of the way a second and I'll show you. Those are fast, man. Those are way too fast for Cycle 1. Right, so, with a ghost, we know where we need to hit. You need to hit to the right of that black line. It's because of how the ghost is kind of orientated that you want to be aiming for the right. Because they are slightly skewed as they are lunging towards you with their outstretched hand, it kind of moves the hitbox, so you want to aim slightly to the right. One of the other things that you can do with ghosts with normal arrows is you can literally pepper them and they will not be able to hit you. As long as you have a reasonably decent rate of fire. This is one way that you can actually cycle arrows on Fletcher. It's a bit dangerous though, because you get the wrong arrow and yeah, you get all sorts of worries with doing something like that. But you can keep this up indefinitely and they won't be able to hit you. I can probably even slow my rate of fire down. And if you get them when they're lunging, that like staggers them for even longer. So that's a reason. I mean, you don't want to be firing that many arrows, but if you've got one that comes out of a wall breathing down your throat and you haven't got time to react, putting an arrow in them and getting away, you know, it's always better to hit the white spot and kill them, but you might not have the accuracy for that or the composure. So my point is, just get a shot off into them and it can stop them doing you over. So as far as the orphans are concerned, killing them at the... Excuse me. Yeah, they definitely need a... they definitely need an upgrade. The ghosts on the original In-Death game look absolutely fantastic. But yeah, note how I'm firing slightly to the right here of the white mark, because I find a lot of the time if you shoot for the center or the left, it doesn't register. So, I mean, it's been... am I doing that now? I suppose I have. I don't know if that was a Quest 2 thing or not, or... stop it, I'm getting a drink. Don't know if that was a Quest 2 thing or not. Oh, I am going to just make sure my battery's behaving. It feels like it is. Yes, it is. Lovely. So, yeah, I will talk about orphans at the higher cycles later on, but the quiver selection that I'm going to be going for is going to be Winter's Bite, Hand of God, Volley 5. Once I've got that, the only things that will change will be the Winter's Bite and potentially the Volley, if I have to. It's part of the reason why I put Hand of God in this slot, because I'm going to put Hand of God in because it's actually quite a rare and very useful arrow. It's really good utility, but I will never swap that arrow. That's why it goes in the Blessed Quiver side of things, or if I have to, it'll be either by mistake or it's dire. So... but yeah, it's a case of using all the arrows that I just mentioned to take out an orphan if you have to. Now, the other way to deal with orphans at the really high levels is, well, I don't know if anybody's tried to fight an orphan before, but they don't fight back. So if you can kill everything around them, they're actually quite easy to deal with. You just have to stop them getting away. They are, in essence, a bonus. A bonus enemy. Clever boy. Didn't hear him because I'm chatting away. But again, doesn't matter because slow time. I promise you, Mr. Popo, it is worth getting. Hand of God is a... Hand of God, if you can stomach it, is one of the arrows that you should prioritize. And the reason being is because it is an arrow that scales well. It's one of the things that you have to take into stock as to why we use... at the higher level, why we use the arrows that we do. And the reason being is because they all scale. So what I mean by scale is it doesn't matter how tough the enemies get, they still work well. So the reason being that is because Winter's Bite has an upgrade that does damage based on the enemy's current health. And Hand of God makes things slow down regardless of how tough they are. So it doesn't matter what cycle we're playing on, those arrows are always useful. Whereas something like Cataclysm is good at the early stages, or for like burning down Anakim, but Anakim gets to a point where, you know, you can't. Have you teleported behind? You almost did. What are you boys doing? Don't go behind the portal, you idiots. Alright, well, okay. Fine. Play of the game. So, one of the ways to get the Hand of God arrow quite quickly, because the Hand of God, if you are at that stage or within range of being able to get it, Hand of God can make this game a lot easier for you, especially whilst you are learning. One of the things to do is start the game, go on to Purgatory, jump straight to the pits, kill all the ghosts, die, rinse and repeat until done. It will take you an afternoon. and then you have Hand of God in your world, and that can make a lot of the other achievements to get sometimes easier as well, because, you know, if you can put a slow bubble around a load of enemies so that they're then not moving, it can make doing things like headshots even easier. You can then start enacting the strategies that you would use for high-level Anakim, say, or high-level Gabriel, or even high-level Asmodeus. There we go. Or even high-level Asmodeus. You can start enacting them at a very, very low level, and that's the way that you get better. That's the way that you practice. You practice these techniques and these things so that they become second nature, and then the only thing that happens later on is things get a little bit faster and you have to do the techniques a little bit longer. It's probably the simplest way that I mean, it is probably a little bit more complicated than that, but that's a simple way of boiling it down and breaking it down. So, and then, so the reason why we use Winter's Bite and Hand of God is mainly so that Anakim becomes an easier opponent to beat, because you can kill him quicker, or rather you can control him the way that you want to. You can slow him down, and then you can stagger when his minions spawn. Yeah, and it is a proper grind, but as we've said, it is worth it. Well, if you are just beginning, just enjoy the game, just play it. To begin with, a lot of the achievements that you get out of this game just happen naturally. That has been done purposefully. That is part of the learning curve. But as you get to that sort of 70, well, no, probably earlier than that, probably sort of like 65, 70% maybe, that's when you have to start targeting certain achievements. The achievements I would highly recommend going for whilst you are in the beginning, so to speak, and it helps you increase the longevity of your runs, is anything that would give you more life. Because if you have a huge life bar, then you can last longer, and if you can last longer in a run, you can do more. And if you can do more in a run, well, then you can get more. So, yeah. Right, let's go and have a look in the shop. See what goodies we have. I don't think we've got a little bit of cash. A little bit of cash. What a fine selection of arrows, but there's one of the ones that we need. So, I hope I don't have to explain why Unholy Wind is not a good arrow. Pestilence is a good arrow. Problem is, it'll kill enemies without scoring for you. If you kill an enemy and it dies via Pestilence, then you don't get anything score-wise other than the gold that the enemy is worth. The other problem with Pestilence is it is weak. It is good for Cycle 1, maybe Cycle 2, or against things like Cupids or Bats for quite a while, but other than that, it does not scale well, which is why get it upgraded, pretty much don't touch it again. Cataclysm, you have to start out using Cataclysm because it is a heavily damaging arrow. Again, get it upgraded. One of the things, if it still hasn't changed, if you have Cataclysm's upgrade available, getting kills with Cupid's Wrath will count towards the Cataclysm upgrade. I don't know why the game thinks that Cupid's Wrath explosions are cataclysms, but do check somebody and still see that it's been a long time since I've done it. I don't think it'll have changed because it's been part of the game coding since I was at 0%. It was one of the things that I came across quite quickly. Cupid's Wrath, very easy to get explosive kills, and then it upgrades the damage that Cataclysm is capable of doing, which means that you can burn down Anakim easier. Winter's Bite. A very good arrow that scales well through all stages of the game. And also, so Winter's Bite, when you have it fully upgraded, is when it's at its best. This is one of the arrows that you get upgraded as quickly as possible first. And the reason being is it'll hold you in good stead against tough enemies. Not only does it freeze them in the spot, but it also does damage to them as well. And as I said, that damage is based on, when you've got it upgraded, a percentage of their health. their remaining health, not their maximum health like the description says. If it was their maximum health, it would be absolutely busted. Stop it. I want normal arrows. At this stage as well, if we're not hitting headshots first time on the tougher enemies, that's not too bad. But again, I'm chatting away. I'm not really too concerned about scoring at these early cycles. Right now, it's about setting things up and getting ready for the later plays. So, and yes, Winter's Bite 3 I would pick up in an emergency, i.e. I need something that freezes enemies, and I haven't got any left, and I haven't been given any quivers. So another cool thing that you can do with any enemy in the game, but it works particularly well with archers. So their alert radius, if you imagine every enemy has kind of like a perimeter, has like a circumference or a diameter or a radius or whatever, a circle around them. If you step into that circle, unless line of sight is broken, so like for instance, I should be able to creep up on this monk all the way up until him because that post is in the way. Let's get rid of these bats first. The other thing to note as well, though, is if I fire an arrow anywhere near them, that will also alert them. We can use both of these factors to our advantage. So let's see if I can put that into practice a second. So his mate, but they are wandering. Oh, he might have seen me. Damn. The other thing as well, remember, is some geometry in this game doesn't actually count as solid. So you can't creep up on things. Like this wall should be pretty good. And then as soon as we poke around it... Oh, that tree looks like it might be solid. If he hears us now, it'll be because of the arrows that we're firing. But that guy's just around the corner. He can't see us. He can't hear us either. If I fire an arrow over here, though, that'll alert him. Now, one of the other things that monks will do, if they don't have line of sight on you, and they are alerted, is they will move so that they can shoot you. Another thing that you can do is, if you look away when they are alerted... I might not be no, it should be okay. If you look away once they are alerted, a lot of the time they will either move or teleport into your line of sight. This might work. Never really tried it in an open environment. Might have to alert him again. But the game is actually designed... Oh, look, he just stood there doing nothing. Nice. The game is actually designed to put enemies in your face and give you a fighting chance. It's part of the reason why skeleton archers are one of the toughest adversaries going. Next on the list is kind of Cupids, but if they ever teleport out of your line of sight, it's usually by accident or because you've looked somewhere and they've decided to teleport when you glance there, because everyone's like this in Paradise Lost looking for the next enemy. Myself included, sometimes. So, let's clear the top of this. See if I can get a example of some teleport trapping. It's not ideal for this level. Let me see if I can... Right, are you guys alerted? Yes, you are. Right, I'm going to look this way. They're alerted. I'm looking this way. It might have been close enough there to just walk up behind me. But even then... You're very wide. So, technically, those guys were in my line of sight. They were actually on my periphery. So if you imagine, because the line of sight isn't sort of like what you can see in front of you. It's, Oh, hello, Zane. How we doing? The line of sight isn't actually what you can see in front of you. It's about 100 and... I might even go as far as, say, 180 degrees. So it's like past your peripheries within VR. To be fair, though, I don't think Desolation is a very good place to do this because they've got lots of options as far as where they can teleport at you. There you go. Threats disseminated. He can't get me. He can't get me. Take out the knight. The only thing that can now get me are the bats. And I'll pop one of those down and that'll fly swat them. Having troubles there with the pillar, lads. Nice. So, lightning balls are a good arrow, but again, you don't end up using them at the stages that I'm looking at, because I mean, like, it's one of the things that really annoys me about this game is the meta doesn't change. So, as we know, Hand of God, great because it scales. Winter's Bite, great because it scales. Volley 5, great because it does silly amounts of damage, which means it lasts you for a very long time. One of the things that they have never done in this game is taken the shit arrows and made them better. That's how you break a meta. Oh, definitely, mate, definitely. No, that'll, yeah, we'll make an Oculus Quest playdate of it, don't you worry. Or a Meta Quest, whatever it is these days. We'll make a playdate of it, mate. Yeah, no, definitely. You can have a go on my profile. Hell, if you bring your Quest 2 down, I might even throw a little score up there for you. I shouldn't do that, should I? To be fair, I probably haven't got time. So, again, using lots of slow time. I don't really need to, but it's good practice. Note how I stopped him with a body shot. Trying to hit headshots when they are leaping. Yeah, no, that's fine by me, mate. Shopping needs to be done. When enemies are leaping at you, stopping them in their tracks with the body shot is probably a better practice than risking going for the headshot. At these early stages, it doesn't really matter. But at the later stages, it can be the difference between you taking a lot of damage or not. Also, identifying the threats in the room to you and taking them out first, whilst using copious amounts of slow time. So at the moment, there's only one threat in the room to me because these boys can't hit me, and he's over here, and he's throwing axes. And they're going to hit the wall, so even he's not a threat. And then, as I said, because we're up high, we can now just simply take these guys out. Well, in slow time if we wanted to. Oh, hello. What are you doing? Now, will he teleport into line of sight with me? No. Let's see if we can get him to come down. So, I'll alert him again. I'm going to look this way. So he could... Oh, he's going to walk round. Of course, they're not doing what I want them to. It's probably easier to test all of it, show all of this off on Purgatory, because that's where it really works. To be fair, it's in these tight confines and tight spaces is where we can really get it going. Right, you're alerted. Let's look this way. He might actually be close enough to just walk in. For fuck's sake. But again, that is part and parcel of their remit. They'll either walk to your location or they'll teleport into your field of view. And so this is part and parcel of the way that you can... I know I'm not doing a very good job of showing it off, but this is part and parcel of the way that you can make... You can kind of like deconstruct a tough mob of enemies by luring them into non-advantageous areas. So if I look forward here, now that he's alerted, he shouldn't walk down the stairs. He may lose interest. Come on, I'm trying to do an example. There we go. Good lad. Don't work with kids or animals, but monks apparently sometimes are fine. So, note how I alerted him and then I looked in a direction. That is the part of the system when you play it a lot, is you need to trust that system. Yeah, those boys have they get it. They know the score. They're better archers than I am. I can't fire arrows fucking sideways. Cupids used to do it a lot as well. They can do it occasionally still, but it was definitely complained about by a lot of people because it was fucking bullshit. They can fire arrows behind them, even though it looks like they're not. I don't know what it is. It's definitely a bug. So... there was a time when I would pick up Barrage of Needles, however, that time has passed. Barrage of Needles used to be an arrow where every one of the flechettes within Barrage of Needles used to score a headshot. And if the enemy had enough life, you would then be getting multiple headshots per barrage of needles. For those of you who haven't seen what barrage of needles is, it's basically a shotgun. It is still a great arrow if you are having problems with the pits, because barrage of needles is fantastic for dealing with ghosts, because you can kind of just aim in the general vicinity of that white splodge, let them get close and just let fly, and it'll take them out nice and easy. So again, barrage of needles is another one of those training wheels arrows for learning to overcome the fear of, because that is quite a big part of this game, overcoming the fear of certain enemies, and then getting to the point where you can just deal with them with regular arrows. He actually teleported there not because I was looking there, but when he decided to teleport, I was looking there. Combat. Hey! That's not a high... Hey, okay, we've got half. Yes, yep, follow the bright light. Not wrong. Yeah, missed. Oh, so did I. That. So, it would be better if you insist on getting your headshot so you can collect your points from it. It'd be better to get out of the way. Even over blocking, because there's been plenty of times where I've put my shield up and they still hit me. So, but there you go. What was the other one? There was another guide. Yeah, so there's the big light that points you towards Anakim's bit. There's also, it used to be not about that, but it used to be about the small lights. But the best bet is to just get up high as well. If I remember rightly, if you're going the right way, then the shops will always be on the right of you. We'll go and check that in a minute. So, oh, she's downstairs. Let's deal with her first. So, one of the things that Winter's Bite can do is it will freeze her temporarily, and not for very long. The reason why that did freeze her for what felt like a while is because I was using slow time. That can be a great way... Hello, Amy. That can be a great way to slow the... God, you guys aren't even trying. That should have definitely been damage. That can be a great way to just give you a little breathing room whilst you like notch up another arrow. You shouldn't be using Winter's Bite on orphans. Part of the reason being is because a Winter's Bite body shot is worth headshot gold. Yeah, double lunges. They double lunge on all cycles from what I've seen. The body shot of an orphan is worth what you would normally get in gold for a single headshot when you have that achievement unlocked. Note how when I get that headshot, that gold is the gold for killing him plus the gold for headshotting him, and then you get score on top of that as well. That is an achievement, I think it's Bone Collector? Can't remember, but that's one of the achievements that I'm talking about, because later on in the game you'll be putting hundreds of headshots in, or when you get to a later stages you'll be putting a lot of headshots in on enemies over and over again, and you get between sort of like 14 and 17 gold, which doesn't seem like a lot because it's not. Oh, I can get you on the move. Alright, oh, there then. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it all adds up in your Tithe Collector bonus. And anything that you can get in the Tithe Collector bonus is also double and a half in the pits, which is another reason why we go in the pits. Not only are there some fantastic enemies for scoring in there, not ghosts. Sometimes they just go straight bloody through. I wouldn't... Unless you need the achievement, I wouldn't bother going for headshots on bats, because it's not easy, and a lot of the time you'll just get hit instead of getting the score, and you'll probably end up doing a body shot anyway. But the easiest way to headshot them is when they start swooping. Hello, Radius. when they are swooping directly towards you, hold in that slow time, and then aim for the bat's face. Aim for his chin. So you need to fire the arrow a little lower down than you would think. Yeah, try to get shots on the move. Technically still within my line of sight because they can travel very high up or low down if it is within line of sight. But again, that's down to the alert and the view. Don't do that. Don't have long distance sniper duels with archers, because they'll win more often than not. Where's that guy? Are you on the outside? Are you up high? No, he's probably up there. I see you. Ah, missed him. Where have you gone now? Has he gone down where I was looking? Yes. Clever girl. Right, let's sort that out a second, because that's flapping around. There we go. So yeah, this is another thing, as I was saying earlier, you can fire an arrow near groups of enemies to lure them over to you. Now, that isn't a particularly great idea with bats, especially if you're going for headshots, because you want them to get close. But you can do that with any enemy, and at the lower cycles, their alert radiuses are a lot smaller. Because their alert radiuses are a lot smaller, you can like kind of chip away at big groups of enemies. Like for instance, this guy's been alerted because he has line of sight on us, and we can tell that because we have line of sight on him as well, and we are within his radius, which has alerted him, which then activates him and brings him running towards us. For all the good it did him. A lot of the time, if you can hit them just as they're about to leap, that's why you get silly maneuvers from abominations sometimes. Now, let's go this way first. Again, I've stepped on the step. That exorcist is now alerted, even if I was able to, if I could retreat and kill him from here, like, because he's through that wall with the Tempest, wouldn't count. He has been alerted for the purposes of being alerted at this point. Now, you'll see that I'm actually starting to use... I never used to use... Thank you, Vaughn. I did just hear my battery ping, to be fair, so thank you. I didn't used to use my shard a lot. There was a time... Long. Yeah, I hope Super Bright never patches that out. It happens in quite a few games, actually. So, again, like with the whole... turning around and walking away from an enemy and them not being able to hit you, that seems to be a VR thing as well, because you can do that on Into the Radius against sliders. Just turn around and walk away. They can't hit you. It's silly. Well, as long as you are light enough and have got enough walking speed. And yeah, good way to survive against sliders. Not very fun or sporting on them, but yeah, good way to survive them. So, So yeah, some of the things that are going to be asked, I'd love to be able to demonstrate them, but I'm not going to be able to get far enough tonight to be able to. But when I'm there, ask me again, and I will happily demonstrate. Let's see. So if we're about his height, or just over his height, he'll stay still. But if we get too high, they'll actually make an attempt to get underneath us. They have got a little bit of self-preservation. Actually, he might be going around to try and hit. It can be different for different kinds of cover. So, for instance, if we get up here, that's just high enough that he doesn't want to get underneath me, but he also can't path towards me. So he'll just stand there like an idiot and take a shot to the face. We like that. Same with that guy. and they will freeze where they are. That's why he was stood there and didn't try and get any closer to me. And all of this can be used to construct those long-range headshots that I talk about. The way the scoring is done in this game is check what your score is. 200535. So I would go 0535, fire your shot. That was a headshot, so we know we're getting 93 gold plus the headshot, i.e. marksman, and there was a little bit of difference. So 201011, so that was about 500 points for that headshot. And remember that it isn't the actual killing that you're getting the scoring for, that you get money for killing an enemy. It's not the actual killing of them that's getting you the score, it's the headshot. So if you kill them with a headshot, it's not the actual death of the enemy that gets you the points, that just gets you the gold. It's the headshot. Look at that, right in the eye. Right in the eye! Not that he's got one on that side, but that's probably why. So, for instance, that should score more, even though it's the same enemy, not in the gold, but in the marksman category. Whereas that will definitely score a lot less. That will score less because he's at point-blank range. It's about from here to maybe... from about here to there is considered short range, so you will get the minimum headshot points, which I think is about 320, and then past that is where it starts scaling up. There is a sweet spot that you should try and get all enemies at, where, especially with the bow, where you are doing the minimum amount of damage but scoring as much as you can be based on that damage. However, crossbow players have got it a lot easier. The further an enemy is away, the less damage they take. So you make sure every enemy is as far away as possible, and you can score a lot of points from them, whilst not taking as much life off them. I was saying how I don't use the shard a lot, but I'm actually these days using it a lot more, and that is not, before Weeb types in, that is not because of the Quest Pro controllers. I've actually started doing that since the Quest 3 controllers came out, because, and this is the problem I suppose with various people asking me, do I rate the Pro controllers? I think the Quest 3 controls are pretty fucking good, and damn, trying to get a moving headshot. Ah well, another day. Abominations are probably one of the harder shots, so don't train yourself for headshots on them because they are small targets. Now those big old buckets are nice. Those are nice and, well, not easy, but easier. Bigger hitbox. Easier to hit. So those two shots are going to have been in that kind of 700, well, maybe a bit less than that, about 600 point bracket, maybe 500. Note how as well I could get 2 headshots out of that guy. So this is, when you come to scoring, this is why it's important that you do just hit headshots, because every other kind of shot that you make... Really? I mean, that's what Fletcher's for, Ray. If I'm honest. Oh, right in the neck. Ah! Yeah, so the only thing that I would say is check all the bits and pieces. 1.5 volt batteries, because that's what the controllers are designed to work with. Put your hertz onto either 50 or 60 megahertz on the controllers. Make sure you have adequate lighting. Get an IR illuminator or IR caster for your play space if you are still having problems, and make sure there's no reflective screens on. Again, it's part of the reason why I love the Fletcher mode in this, because as I said, I love all of the arrows in this game. They do need some love, you know, the special effects need upping, and the particling and all that good stuff needs to be raised. But there's, like, I love using Divine Sight when it works. I like using lightning balls, but the problem is all of these arrows are not part of the meta i.e. the arrows that you need, not should, need to be using to get far. And getting far is when enemies start getting harder to kill because they have more life. More life means more headshots means more score, which is why those arrows are then part of the meta and then become the way to play the game. Now, there's two things that you can do, depending on whether you are a good developer or a bad developer. If you are a good developer, then... if you are a bad developer, then you nerf the arrows that everybody is using. The reason why that's bad is because there's people that will plan their entire strategies and only be able to play with those arrows. If you nerf them, you are forcing them to do a thing. What you're supposed to do, or a good developer, would... Oh, get in. A good developer would increase the power of the arrows that are not being used. Not overly so, but to make them viable. It's one of the things that I love this game for, is finding combinations, or used to in the earlier stages, finding combinations of arrows that are actually effective. But the truth of the matter is, it was only an exercise in procrastination, I guess, because nothing beats the meta arrows, unfortunately. But there are times where you might find yourself with the wrong arrows, or it being early doors. Well, that's gone right in, hasn't it? Or it being early doors and you not having the arrows that you wanted. Hence the reason why I play the way, or why everybody plays the way that they play with the particular arrows. But yeah, I'd love like things like Curse to be viable, but the problem is Curse of God, although it's a great arrow, is never going to be viable because it kills enemies without rewarding you points. And that's not the standard that you are judged by in the main game, or even in Fletcher, or even in... Well, yeah, in the main game. I said the main game, right? And the reason being is because that scores you points. Not that, not that. All that gets me is the gold that the enemies are worth. That's it. Doesn't get me any headshot points. So any arrow that is not really capable of doing headshots on a thing is then taking points away from you, which is a bit shit, really, because there's some really... Like, I love the lightning balls. I think they're great, but you wouldn't use them because they're robbing you of points, basically. Always use all the things until you have completed a level before you restock with the quivers. I know I just, like, used a quiver to restock 2, and that's because I'm not going to be using those. I was just pissing around earlier. So same as that was. Hey, yeah, as I said, it's part of the reason why I fucking love Fletcher. Being able to absolutely destroy rooms with... and having to make use of all of these arrows that you wouldn't usually. Now, I know the way that I play Fletcher with my Orph Annihilation style is not doing that, and that's because that mode is hard to score. Which is why I did the Orph Annihilation thing, to try and up people's scores, because the bar has been set quite low because it is a tough mode. Now, it's easier these days because you get more opportunities for life. Oh, can you not get up there anymore? Oh, what? Oh, that was one of my favourite tournament spots. I'm going to have to go and check that properly now. Why'd you take my toys away, Super Grey? I can't even get on there now. I'm going to have to go and investigate. So, just in case anybody's looking at this level as somebody who is a new player, don't come to Desolation. Don't come to Desolation. Do not ever come to Desolation. It is just harder and is not worth it. Now, when you are doing a scoring run, the only reason why I'm doing this is to show you the way that I start my scoring run, or start my run. I'm trying to construct my quiver. Part of the reason why I have come here is because basically we're getting a guaranteed enemy that is going to give us a special arrow of some description, i.e. the golden bat. That's kind of the only reason why we're here. The other reason why I use Desolation as my first is, after I've visited Desolation in Cycle 1, I never want to have to come here again. It's really, really hard, completely unfamiliar, because nowhere feels quite like home like Purgatory, right? The enemies are nastier, and there's no reward for it. We've done extensive testing? We've done quite a lot of testing on Desolation, and although even if Desolation was worth 10% more in score than Purgatory, that's not enough for the risk. There is not enough reward for the risk, so you don't come here. The only time it is acceptable to come to Desolation, at least for me, is getting achievements or at the start of a scoring run. By doing it, so what you can do, if the golden bat is in one location, now that we've killed the golden bat in Desolation, it will now go into Purgatory. We'll get to see that when we are choosing whether we go to Purgatory or Desolation later on in the stream. And so we'll then go to Purgatory, and we'll stay on Purgatory. So why do we start with Desolation? We get the golden bat on Desolation, we get the golden bat on Purgatory, and if by like cycle 2 or 3 I haven't got like most of my quiver sorted out, then I'm probably having a really bad luck day. So, and that's literally what it's for. I believe they think that this extra scoring that you can get on this map as well comes from headshotting bats. Headshotting bats is fucking difficult. Ah, oh, missed. You can actually hit those shields when they are detached from the enemy as well. That's saved me a couple of times on Fletcher, I don't mind saying. Right, Anakim the abominable. The first boss of the game. Now, if you are in the early stages, yes, cataclysms are the way. Yeah. I'm at cycle 1. I mean, the thing is, Mr. Popo, there's one thing that they could do to make me choose Desolation over Purgatory every time, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again just in case they're listening. Make it so that the exorcists drop a guaranteed reward like the summoners do on Abyss. That would get me into Desolation, or at least it would get me to consider Desolation when things are going bad. And so then you have to risk for the reward of, like, you know, you could be dire straits, but knowing that those exorcists are definitely going to drop something, oh, that'd be tempting if you were having a bad day. Anyway, so Anakim little. So as soon as we teleport down, he is going to be alerted and he's going to come at us no matter where we jump down. The standard tactic to deal with him at the early cycles is to just blast the absolute crap out of him with as powerful an arrow as you can have. Now, that will only get you so far. Once you get to about cycle 6, maybe cycle 7, you'll have to start coming up with something else. That something else is snow globing. Now, we haven't got one of the elements of snow globing, but we kind of might as well have, because we can slow time. So if I ever got to later cycles, if I had to change any of my arrows over, it would probably be Volley 5 for another Winter's Bite, and then finally Hand of God for another Winter's Bite, because you can do a lot with Winter's Bite. So I like to drop down here. On Anakim, when he is at these levels, one shot to the Canugan will spawn the first wave of bosses. Now, it isn't the fact that he has taken a hit, it is the fact that his damage threshold for spawning the first wave of enemies is so low because we're on cycle 1. That will change later, and then you ice these guys and kill them. I mean, I don't have to ice them. You don't either. You can save your arrows here. But I'm going to try and go through. But you recreate these steps on the early stages. Now, I've done him from here. The next stage would be to... Bear in mind, I'd be hitting him with Winter's Bite here. Would be to try and get him to his next threshold of life so that he spawns more archers. I'm doing it with regular arrows because probably just as easy to keep track that way. No. There we go. So his next wave of archers has spawned. Now, do note, I am closer to these archers than I am those archers. So why are they spawning over there? The simple reason is it is how the game used to work on PC VR and how it was converted for the quest. Because in each of these alcoves, there is supposed to be a statue of an archer, and as you do damage to Anakim, it breaks those statues. Now, as you can appreciate, we can't see that. We just see alcoves. But if you imagine there is a statue and it breaks and becomes an archer, that will hopefully explain the way that you can do here. If I do him enough damage here and now to spawn the next wave of archers, noted by if you headshot him and he staggers, that is basically the trigger, or part of the trigger. Note how they've spawned all the way, the next wave of 4 have spawned all the way over here and not in those alcoves. And that's because those alcoves have already broken their statues, basically. Now, we don't need... It's actually wasting points by Winter's Biting them because we should be able to, at this short range, get 2 headshots. Now, I've kind of done this out of order because the 4 archers I want to spawn over in this corner. But let's get him back over here. So, yeah, there's 2 ways that you can kind of... This is why we use Winter's Bite, because at the higher cycles, Winter's Bite is the perfect amount of damage to trigger 1 and 2 waves at a time, depending on what stage you're at. Now, if you've done Anakim a lot of damage to the body, or with like tick damage from Winter's Bite, then it banks a stagger. Basically what I mean by that is that the next headshot that I do to him will stagger him. But that stagger was based on the fact that, you know, he was actually ready to spawn... Come on. Spawn archers. Note how they teleported into my line of sight when I was charging forwards. That is definitely a thing. So, again, as I said, I've done it out of order. There is a specific order that I like to do it. Is it the best way? No, but it's the way that I'm used to doing it. I've done it so many times now that it's kind of formed a habit, even though it's not as efficient as it could be. I can think of a better way to do it, but it works for me and it gets me far enough, so I don't need to worry too much. Now, what I am doing here is I am farming the abominations. Can you do this indefinitely? No. But they are worth points. How can you tell if you are scoring from an abomination? If you hit a headshot and you receive gold, you are scoring. If you hit a headshot and you do not receive gold, they have stopped paying out, so to speak. Now, I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a while. We should probably get out of here. It's been a while. I can't remember if it's the number of abominations you kill or the number of headshots you get. I have a funny feeling it's still the number of headshots that you get. Like, for instance, those enemies are actually better off to do 2 shorter ranged headshots. You'll score more points than one sort of medium. A medium range headshot, 1 shot will kill them. That'll get you about 500 points. 2 short range shots will kill them, both headshots. That'll get you about 600 points. There's not a lot in it, but if you always do these things and have that scoring mentality, it will only pay dividends. Now look at what's happened here. The guys that we're going to farm and score points off of have all stood stock still. because I am slightly off the ground. And what have I also done, kind of on purpose by accident? I've constructed the long-range headshot. All I've got to do now is hit them. Damn. As I said, these hits are a lot harder to get than the old bucket heads. We're still getting gold from them, so we'll continue on a little bit longer. I'm not going to bore you with how to farm Anakim. This doesn't make you enough points to make it worth your while if you can get very far into the game. But if you can't get very far into the game, well then every extra point that you can score could be one more point towards you getting your personal best. So then farming this area can become a bit of a boon to you. Now, you should only really, and I can't remember if we have or not, I wasn't counting, you should only really start farming once all of the archers are dealt with. And the reason, let's see if he's... No, I think we got them all. I wasn't counting. Don't do what I did and not count. You should always be counting those sort of things. So, now that we can see them, let's take some long-range headshots. Still scoring gold, I see, so that means they're still scoring points. You won't score anything out of them for a body shot on Anakim? Or, oh no, I think you get like the cycle bonus, which these days, for how far cycle-wise people can normally get in the main game, I don't even talk about. It's like a handful of points. Hello, Rizal. How are we doing? Oh no, they're still scoring. That little stutter usually tells me, like one scores, the other doesn't, that we're getting to the end. There you go. So note how that was definitely a headshot, and I didn't score any gold from him. What does that mean? Well, we can double check. Headshot, no gold. So that means 49891. Oh, fuck's sake. Damn it! Damn it! There we go. That was definitely a headshot. What did I say? That 249891. No more scoring. And again, what was it? 891. Headshot. 891. So we are no longer scoring from abominations. So if anybody's thinking like, that's how the guys at the top get the big scores, no, that it's not even worth pissing around at the much later stages. You will always score headshot gold from Anakim. You will always score headshot gold from archers. But knights and abominations, you will not eventually. And the knights and the abominations are all tied into one. So basically, if it is melee infantry, then... And I know the knights can throw stuff. If it's melee infantry, then you can only get so many headshots out of them before they stop scoring. So, Cupid's Wrath, as I said, a great arrow. Training wheels, though, but we'll take it so that you can see what it does. But Cupid's Wrath is a great one, like Tempest, for getting you through this level. They... Oh. Yes, be very careful when Anakim dies at all times. Anything that can do aura damage, wait. I have lost very high-level mortal runs, not recently, but very high mortal runs to summoners that I've killed and thought were well dead, and have still been hit by them. Very annoying. So, yes, it should have come to PSVR 2. I heard rumblings a long time ago that it was. I don't think it would have changed the sort of like state that PSVR 2 is in at the moment, but I think if PSVR 2 launched within Death Unchained 2, I think Super Bright would have done very fucking well for themselves, and I think it could have really helped with the launch because I don't know, it's that kind of title, I think, if they did a good job of it and didn't just rehash. The problem is a lot of people associate In Death with In Death Unchained, even though they're made by two different companies. And so people from the old PSVR days still to this day blame Superbright for not updating Soulfar's game. Soulfar are the IP owners, I believe. I don't know what the legalities are, but Soulfar are the IP controllers, and they're the ones that stopped working on the PlayStation VR game, and then Superbright made In Death Unchained. So blaming one company for another's failings, I mean, I would be happy to, but it won't fly because they're just two different companies, unfortunately. Same IP, different companies. I wish why they didn't put In Death Unchained on the PlayStation VR is, I mean, it's not beyond me because you never could be unchained, could you? You're always chained on PSVR or even PSVR 2. So hence why I don't like it. Anyway, right, so enough of that. Paradise Lost. The other than pits, and probably worse than pits, ooh, what's that? Ooh, Cataclysm ×3. It's probably worth noting, even if you can't see them, putting your hand up and waiting for it to splay out is a good way to check your immediate vicinity if there is any pick-upables. Because that might have been some life, and I might have been in dire straits and might have needed it. So Paradise Lost is the nightmare of all players, myself included. If I'm going to die immortal, it'll be here. Nowhere else, just here. It's why I fucking skip. So, but you have to learn how to deal with it, to combat it. Mortal's a different kettle of fish when you can only take one hit, and Cupid's being the way that Cupids are, well. Anyway, so this is the biggest bump in difficulty that you don't have, that you are forced down. This is the biggest bump of difficulty in the game. You can get past Paradise Lost, you can do Abyss, but Paradise Lost is very, very hard. The only other big spike in difficulty within the game is the pits, but as we know, and as Von will tell you, the pits are voluntary. So, how are we going to deal with this? Copious amounts of slow time, lots and lots of listening, and copious amounts of slow time. So I would normally start here. The one thing that I would say is, again, using slow time. You do have ample amounts of time on Cupids. If you are facing them, can hear them, or can see them. But that is part of the problem with Cupids. So I would say, what pits indeed? I would say I'm actually getting quite lucky with the old headshots on Cupids. Wasn't going for that last one. I would recommend, if you are new, body shot Cupids. Headshotting is something that I don't even really do on Cupids, even at the later stages of the game, because missing that headshot can give them time at that close range to fire their 2 fucking arrows, and they hurt. So watching where your stray arrows are going. Let's say that I missed that first shot on purpose to demonstrate a point. Didn't see that Cupid behind. He's alerted. And that one round to the left there. We did kind of see him, but he's alerted. It's stray arrows that will get you. Stray arrows that fly off into the level will bring swarms of Cupids on your head. Also note as well, as you are wandering around, all of a sudden we've gone from having, I'm talking about Purgatory, not so much Desolation, but we've gone from having enemies that are on our level or slightly above, at least within eye line, to all of a sudden things that are just flying in the sky above us and will quite happily teleport down our throat, and there's a lot of them. A lot. Banshees aren't too much problem. They've got way too slow a wind up, and they can't do anything to you in hand-to-hand combat either. They're not going to try and hit you, and just got to be careful. A lot of the time they'll just teleport away. When they do line up for their attack, a body shot stumbles them and staggers them from being able to actually shoot at you. So that's a thing. Cupid's Wrath is a good arrow. Problem is, it's weak. So, and it's also not scoring as any points. But what is it doing like Tempest? It's taking the nightmare of being able to pop these guys out of the sky off of your hands. You don't have to be accurate with Cupid's Wrath. You don't have to be that accurate with Tempest to get the results. And so it's why I call them the training wheels, because I could easily call them crutches, but I think that's a disservice to anybody using them, because I used Cupid's Wrath and I used Tempest once upon a time, and they made me the player that I am today on this game. You've got to go through that process. People who are using Cupids and Tempests at the time do not want to let go of them. I remember I didn't either, but you get to a point where you have to. Ooh, I want to show you guys a trick with Divine Sight ×5. So even if I hit her almost as she's pointing her staff at me, it still disrupts her attack, making her not that difficult an enemy to overcome. The only problem that you can have with Banshees is that you can hit their staff. Also, Tempests are pretty useless against them, and the reason being is because the Tempest hits their staff first before them, which is why it doesn't absolutely annihilate Banshees like it should. Oh, show you another trick before I show you something with Divine Sight. So, here's the thing that you can do with Knights. So remember how I said once they're alerted, they will kind of move to somewhere, usually, where they can throw an axe at you. Might be a bit different. Oh yeah, there he goes. So move to somewhere where they can throw an axe at you. Now, if you move to a spot where you can see them, but only the top part of their head, they will stand stock still and they won't do anything. They can't see enough of you to throw an axe, and they can't see. They can see enough of you to not try and move position. Same with this guy. I think he was stuck on the pillar more than anything else. Yeah, Banshees as well are a problem on this level. Let's see if we can get these guys interested in what I was talking about. So if I stand right on the edge here, that guy will throw an axe. If I move a little bit further back, he'll still throw an axe. If I move to such a way, it also is also as much as that based on distance as well. But if I moved to, say, here, and then duck down, move forward a little bit, so I can just see his head, even if he was in range to throw an axe, which I don't think he is, he'll just stand there and allow me to take an easy headshot. Same again with this one. Lovely. So yeah, Banshees are a bit of a nightmare on this one. I don't know what it is. I think it's something to do with their spawning priority, but you can come back to an area and you can come back to an area. Yeah, this isn't a good example for it. These crenellations are a great way to use that technique on Knights, but Knights aren't really the problem on Paradise Lost. It's Cupids. Cupid tactics are the thing. The other thing to note as well is if you do have arrows that are capable of homing in, don't just like let off a massive barrage of them hoping that you're going to kill all of them that are up there flying, because as you'll notice at the moment there's only one there and one there, and it's as I kill them that will then allow any others that are in range of my line of sight to spawn. Part of the reason this is because of the rule of 17, which, if you don't know about it, that is basically the fact that there are quite a lot of enemies on the dance floor this evening, and so it is staggering the other enemies that are around us that are allowed to actually jump in. Now this should be quite a good example of how powerful slow time can be. So I'm going to try and take out the threats as I slow time my heart out and do some evasive maneuvers. I'm going to try and take out the correct enemies. Down, 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 down. I'm going to try and take out the threats, which at the moment are the archers and the cupids. Mainly the cupids, because their weight of fire can catch you whilst you are flying about. Next threat will probably be the witches, but we can get up on high to make the knights not a problem. A little bit of plasma there. Almost. Almost. Note as well how these banshees are now spawning in. This is again down to the rule of 17. Look like they just cut the banshee down. So yeah, they're only now just spawning in an area that, you know, there are enemies about, and this is because there are, as I'm killing enemies, other enemies are spawning in, and then when those enemies have spawned in, again, because of how banshees work and their spawn prioritization, they kind of spawn in last, I think. I've never really understood it because there's no real rhyme or reason to it. Excuse you. There you go. Powers of slow time. Didn't take a hit. So, if you can get slow... And that was pretty sloppy of me, to be honest with you, as well. I'm slow timing a little bit more toward the crossbow at the moment, for obvious reasons, with what I'm doing with Mortal. But that shows you... I didn't use any special arrows there, and I was able to clear a reasonably dangerous room just by pressing a button. Now, yes, there's a little bit more to it than that. There's a little finesse at the very least, and a lot of practice and a little skill, but it is a skill that is worth practicing. One of the reasons why I think it is, and I do consider it the most powerful tool within your arsenal, is you always have it and it never runs out. So, here's a trick with Divine Sight times 5. This actually happens with all multi-shot arrows. If you can fire them in such a way that the outside arrows hit, you'll get the additional arrows as well. As well as doing so... Let's have a think about this. Okay, here's a good example. So... Oh, careful! Careful! Oops! Right in his arse. Right, so if I wanted to take... One second, again, powers of slow time. If I wanted to take this guy out at extremely close range, remember, if I aim this directly in his face at this sort of range, it'll absolutely KO him and absorb all 5 arrows. If I try and do that but hit him with the outside arrow, watch what happens. See how all, like... There's 10 arrows in his face, yet another 3 have still flown off and killed more enemies. Now, I've known about that for quite a while. It's something that I find very useful in Fletcher for getting the most out of Divine Sight times 5. But basically what happens is, if you are close enough and plant the arrow in an enemy's head, it puts all 5 in there and does a massive amount of damage. Whereas... if you try and angle the arrow so that only the outside or second to outside one hits, it'll still do the full 5 into its face, or in some circumstances a full 10, and it only ever does 5 amount of damage, but it also sends the other ones flying off, and so you can get some real value with your DS5s or 3s in that circumstance. Is something that I use a lot, or I try to bear it in mind in Fletcher. Now, the other thing to note as well is DS5 is capable of headshots, so it is a scoring arrow. Getting headshots with it is very bloody difficult, though. Hello, Kim. Oh, I might need to borrow you again. I need to do a video for Dragon Fist. If you are able and willing, I need to document the... That one... That one is... 'Cause... 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 That one's more of a something to know. It's a lot more advanced technique than I'm probably giving it credit for. Ooh, shop. Always check your shops as soon as you get them. The reason being is because you can plan and prep around the game. For instance, if I didn't have any holy armors and a holy armor comes up, bear in mind a holy armor shields you from a single hit. When you have the achievement for holy armors that increases its potency, it doesn't matter what level you are on. So in this game, because like people were saying, like, oh, how can you, in the higher cycles of this game, I know I haven't taken a hit yet, flex, but not that it should be, it's cycle 1 for Christ's sake, but not that I haven't taken a hit yet. Hey, there's still plenty of time, believe you me. But in the later stages of the game, in these stages of the game, a single hit will take one of these segments, be it my armor or my life. In the later stages of the game, when you get from cycle 5 and onwards, enemies start taking multiple pegs of life from you. With holy armor, when you have it fully upgraded, doesn't matter if a hit would cause 12 damage, it will still only take 1 holy armor off of you. So hopefully you'll be able to understand quite now how people can get as far into the game as they're getting. But, no one's running around thinking, shit, I can only take 1 more hit and I'm dead. I mean, it can get to that stage. As long as you have holy armors, then that is not the case. You can always take a holy armor shot and then 1 other. We've also then now got Grace of God on top of that as well. It's quite a weird design decision, because on the one hand they made this game a lot harder by taking more damage at later cycles. Then they lessened it by giving us this holy armor power up. Then they lessened it again by giving us Grace of God, which basically acts like an armor but at the end of your life bar as opposed to before it. So the other thing to note with Paradise Lost is don't do what I'm doing and jump right into the middle of everything and alert it. Stick to the outsides. Kind of following the route that I've started doing in Mortal. I'll go up here anyway, because it's not a bad route. But you stick to the outsides and kill what you can. Take out what you can. Now, what you should do is start on 1 floor, kill everything there, then go round the outside. I am doing things a little bit differently because of the way that I'm having to play the game at the moment in Mortal. This is where your divine sights and your cupids come in, when you can see lots of enemies. Like, if I'd have fired that divine sight back there, those 5 enemies that just spawned in did not exist. So firing a divine sight will do nothing. Whereas firing when they exist does kill them all, which is good stuff. Oh yeah. No, I am aware of the glitch. It's not really. I don't think it's this one though. I know which one you're talking about. It's a smaller. Oh God, look at this. Why am I getting this? So for those of you who don't know, you can only pick up and only have 3 holy armors. So we're at maximum because we only have 3 heads. Our IDU 3-headed angel of death, whatever we are. We only have 3 heads, enough heads for, 1 helmet each. Which is why if we had a 4th head, we'd be able to pick up another holy armor helmet, but we do not. So we can still make use of that just in case we drop a holy armor, but this is, I don't know, this is the level of luck that I like to see, but not now. I want all of these holy armors being thrown at me much later on in the game. So, now I know I say don't dive in to the middle of all of this shit, but I'm trying to get things done reasonably quick so I can make some progress. But also note how, so I was saying about how I didn't used to use shards, and all of a sudden now, ooh, that was lucky, all of a sudden now I do use the shard quite a lot, and the reason being is because since the Quest 3 controllers, the tracking has been better for me. I struggled using the shard on the Quest 2. It didn't do what I wanted it to do well enough and wasn't responsive enough. So I kind of abandoned using it completely. Since the Quest 3, I've started getting back into using the shard more because it's more responsive and it seems to go in the direction that I want it to do. It's a lot easier to use. There was a time when the shard was at its most powerful where the direction you were holding on the left stick was the direction you went when you just pressed the shard button. You didn't even have to throw it forward or backward or, like, you know... So yeah, you didn't even have to do that to go forward. You could just hold forward and spam the shard button. And it made the shard very, very powerful because it wasn't relying on tracking. But now it is. So let's clear up a little bit here, because the skies are full of demons. This is how good an arrow DS5 can be for you. Again, another great arrow for Paradise Lost. There's another good one as well. The other thing to note, for those of you who aren't aware, note as well, those arrows go... those arrows' direction is based on gaze. So where I am looking is where the arrows will go. So if I was to say, fire at these ones and then look that way, that's where the divine sights will go. Note how they completely boycotted the target that I actually fired them at and went for what I am looking at. So enemies teleporting into your field of view and where you look are very important factors within quite a lot of VR games, but definitely in Death Unchained. That was a really good example. That couldn't have gone better, because there's times when the flight path of Divine Sight will go a bit skew-if based on there being enemies closer than you can see, and that is a lot of the time why they just dump into walls. So they are a very effective arrow, though. But yeah, another example. So it's gone after those as the priority, and then it may loop back round for the others. I'm not doing a very good job of showing the way that you should do these levels. The way that you should do this level is you clear the lower, clear the outsides and up from what you can see, and then you advance up a level. As Ray said, another way that's a little bit more advanced, you need to be good on your slow times and your teleporting to do it, is to get all the way to the end and the top of the level and then come back down. I did, but it might be... Oh, hang on. Probably a good shout. Cheers, Weebs. I'll change it again. So I have noticed that, yeah, as I said, even with me putting the brightness down these days, my batteries are not up to it. I'm going to have to start looking at the proper Quest 3 batteries for the Bobo. But they haven't got the charging dock together for the M, or is it BA3s? Or whatever the new batteries are, and they're a different dock. I have to get a different head strap. I get a stupid fucking fan with it as well. I don't know. I might get them, but I want to get... I don't think I've had my Bobo VR... when did I get it? Just before I went up to Pico last year, which was like October. So I haven't had it that long. So I am half tempted, well, not half tempted, I will get onto the manufacturers and say to them, oi, why are my fucking batteries starting to fail? And why this, why that, why the other? Because they used to perform, and nothing's changed. So I think it's just that the batteries are getting a little bit worn. Now, some could argue that maybe, just maybe, with doing 10-hour live streaming play sessions and spending way too much time recording and doing VR games, that I'm maybe using the batteries a little touch heavier than they are designed for. But no, there are warranties on things for a reason, and thankfully they can't prove those sort of things unless they obviously you know, record my voice in a live stream, in which case I would be asking for sponsorship. But that's not going to happen. So what you should do then is clear the area. Now we've got a quiver to work with. Azure's Fury is another great arrow, but you have to be able to hit the initial shot. So even going for a body shot to get the electrical bounce effect. This one is quite good upgraded, but not for the reason that you'd think. It's okay sometimes at lower cycles dealing with Cupids, but the amount of damage that additional lightnings is lower anyway and gets worse the further the lightning bounces. It can bounce up to 5 times from its initial target when fully upgraded, but it just gets weaker and weaker and weaker. Now, the problem with that is it's then not killing the enemies that it's designed to kill, which is unfortunate. It won't kill like Cupids that have got a little bit more life than what they should at these early stages. I'm talking about later cycles when enemies have more health. One of the benefits, but also for Fletcher, curses of Azure is that it electrocutes and staggers enemies. Now, a lot of the special effects in this game, because I've been slated in the past for actually liking Azure's Fury by a certain special shadowy ninja somebody, and one of the things that I think is missed is the fact that Azure's Fury actually staggers enemies. And that can be the difference between taking a hit or not, because the enemy is staggered and can't deal with you. But yeah, what you should see about doing is dealing with all the enemies on a level. Again, as I said, I haven't done a very good example. I've been chatting away and getting some work done. But dealing with all of the enemies on a certain level before moving up. And that way, worst case scenario, now that let's pretend that I've cleared everything down here. If I then... Ooh. If I was to then say... Oh, didn't clear you out, did I? That was unfortunate. If I was to then jump up and go, oh shit, I can go back down low. Thanks, Font. I can go back down low and compose myself knowing that I have cleared the lower levels. You would do the reverse if you were starting from the top and going back up again. And then a lot of the reason why that is a good strategy is because a lot of the enemies on this level, they do a certain special thing called teleporting. And so they'll then teleport down to you piecemeal, so that instead of taking 4 or 5 enemies out at a time on one level because you've alerted them and you have to deal with them, you come back down and all of a sudden you're only having to deal with 1 or groups of 2. And you wait, especially on Paradise Lost, you wait down here. If you've got an audience to talk to, well, that really helps. But you wait down here. And as I said, if you think you've alerted things and you think you've killed things, this is all in my little Paradise Lost video, but if you think you've killed everything and you think you've alerted them all and you've dealt with everything that you've alerted, count to 10. And if something still hasn't come, depending on how nervy a disposition you have, count for another 10. You're in no rush. You want to survive, right? What could we restock? Oh, we'll restock the Winter's Bite. Hopefully I do get a Hand of God this episode, because I'd like to show that off. Because as I said, with a bit of grind, and that grind is also good practice, you can get what will become an arrow that will always be useful to you no matter what stage of your journey within IDU you are at. Hand of God will be something that you can use at the very beginning cycles all the way to the tippity top. It will help you with everything. Bosses, scoring, survivability, everything. Ooh, sneaky one. This is the other benefit of Cupid's Wrath, is you can blind fire it. You can be in cover and you can shoot round corners as long as you give enough clearance and the enemy that you are firing towards is closer than something else. Note how that wanted to go to where my gaze was going to, but it didn't. It went for the closest target within my gaze. Remember, my gaze is wider than what I can actually see, because no VR headset is able to accommodate peripheral vision, and the developers designed these games not with your peripheral vision in mind, but I don't know, it must just be easier to have it at 180. I guess it's a nice angle. So that should be us pretty much done, I think. It is always in your early journey of this game worth clearing out levels, because you always need to kill so and so amount of enemies. It would be better to kill everything on a level than it would be to leave some so that you can progress a bit further, unless you are going for specific enemies, in which case, well, like, you know, if we were going for Cupids here, then we don't need to be on any level other than Paradise Lost. A lot of enemies within this game, as you are just naturally playing, will present themselves within the right numbers. As I said, there's only a few achievements in this game that you genuinely have to grind for. Headshotting bats, killing ghosts, getting triple kills with Divine Sight ×3 to unlock Divine Sight ×5 is a particularly twattish achievement. Those ones, to me, feel like they were coded by somebody different. Those ones, their numbers feel obnoxious, even though they unlock very powerful arrows. It's still fucking annoying. Anyway, right, Gabriel the Fallen. How do we do him? Well, it's all about your gaze. Again. So, the easiest way to deal with Gabriel is to get him off of the level. There are other ways, but the easiest way and the most repeatable is to get him off of the level. He will land in one of three locations: over there, there, or there. You can look up to see where he is moving, or if you move to one of his spots and try and move through it before he's coming down, it won't allow you to. It's like they've picked his spawn before he actually lands. You don't take any damage from him landing. He also doesn't do any proximity damage to you as well. And basically what we want to do, give him a little good luck tickle, and we then basically want to force him off of the edge of the level, the way that Gabriel works. If we get close to him, he retreats from us to try and get into his ideal range to attack. If we run away, he comes towards us to once again get into his ideal range to attack. Gabriel the Fallen has three kinds of attacks, one of which he can only perform when he is over land. That is his most dangerous attack. This is why we keep him off the land, so that he can't do his sword plunge, if you've ever seen it. I mean, it shouldn't get me killed, but it could. No, it won't. Not at this stage. Why is this sword plunge attack difficult? It's very difficult to dodge, in that you have to get between his line of sight and pillar between you, which, when you're running around from trying to get out of the way of enemies, can be very difficult to do. And in addition to that as well, every time he does it, queues up a spawn of enemies. So if you've ever had enemies spawn on Gabriel the Fallen, that's why, because he got a sword plunge attack off of you. Now, other than that, normally he does two kind of attacks. He does the fireballs you've seen, and he does this swoop down and attack, followed by a 3-hit combo. 1, 2, 3. And if you are still looking at him, this one seems to be a bit bugged, but if you're still looking at him after the combo, sometimes he'll do a retreating, like, a last strike. So what we're going to do now, and again, headshots are the way, but body shots will do. You hit him after he does his sweep, put a pillar between him and his line of sight. Even though that sword can pass through us, because there is something between us, it won't hurt us. Now, what I'm going to do is show you how to manipulate him. Note how, if I move over here, Gabriel is a vain motherfucker. He needs to be seen. He always wants to be in our peripheral vision, or in not in our peripheral vision. He always wants to be in the center of our vision. If we deny him that right, he keeps on trying to get it. What I'm doing here is moving to either side of the pillar and keeping this pillar on, kind of like on my peripheral vision, and keeping my center of my gaze somewhere else. And that's where this vain motherfucker will go to every time. So if I put the pillar between us and look over here, he'll go this way. If I go back over the other side and look over here, he'll come back round. Trust the system, and this is the easiest way that you can beat Gabriel, because you can, even if you get good at it, sometimes he'll do that if you piss around with him too much. If you get good at it, so basically what he did there is he started his attack before I was looking in a different direction. So, but if you get good at it, you can fire arrows at him as you are retreating around the corner. Look the other way. Fire, 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 fire. Look the other way. Fire, fire, fire. Look the other way. Fire, 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 fire. Look the other way. And note how he is not even getting an attack. I'm not hitting him, but he is not even getting an attack off. And then combine this with slow time, and all of a sudden, Gabriel goes from an enemy and boss that can actually be a threat to an enemy that's no threat. Now, you don't want to deal with him in that basis, because A, we're doing him sod all damage, and B, we're not scoring out of him. When he does his fireballs, go to the opposite side of the pillar, and I like to put my shield up far in front of me and on the pillar to stop any sneaky fireballs that come around, because I've been hit by them plenty of times. When he flares up and the fireballs appear, that's when you need to get to the other side. When he flares up and raises his sword, that's when he does his dive. Wait for that first strike to pass through. You'll see that I look away from him as well, and that's part and parcel of it. Have the pillar between you and him and look away. I find there's been times when I can almost, like that, he might be able to hit me there, but if I do that, he won't be able to. 2, 3. And then headshot, 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 headshot. We could use a Winter's Bite at this stage to really whittle his life down. Remember that Winter's Bite, when it is at its... Oop, that was a bad move. Damn, I just lost some armor then. Damn it! This is because I'm playing as the crossbow and these buttons are the wrong way around. Ooh. It wouldn't make any odds, but I could change that. Because the controller thing. Anyway, right. So we lost some armor, but it doesn't matter. We'll get it back. That's a shame, because there was some in the level. I'll try and show off his other attack. So he'll come to us and try and get into optimum range. So again, as I said, it's my own fault. I had a once you got a shard open, it's very difficult to not cast it. But when he's over land, he'll do this. So this is his sword plunge attack. Once he hits the ground, you have a couple of seconds max to get out of his line of sight. This motherfucker can hit you pretty much anywhere on his level with that explosion. Once the explosion goes off, you're good to go and you can attack him again. But if we wait a couple of seconds, oh look, Cupids. Now, something to note. If you were of the exploiting variety, he will spawn those guys infinitely, and they are always worth points. Just, I'll put that out there. The one thing that I will say is, if you can fight him over and over again, consistently, without losing life, then yes, you could make a lot of points out of him. But attempting that, doing all of that, it's not worth it. It really isn't. So he does spawn infinitely, and his spawns are always worth points. You would think it's an exploit, but you have to put yourself in an immense amount of danger to be able to pull it off. Here's something that I like to practice. Always land it first time. The chat will tell you. So part of the reason why I like to practice this shot is during tournaments when you are skipping from one level to another. When you kill that boss, all of this takes time to spawn in. Even when it has spawned in, you can't get over there to teleport to the next level. It's a time and speed thing. However, if you can make that shot... Damn. If you can make that shot, you can get straight in. Shot, Kim. Gotta have another go now. Always make that shot. If you can make that teleport, it's a little bit of fun, I guess, as well. But it does have a practical use. I very rarely make this shot first time. What? Fuck. Right, so one of the other things you can do as well. Well, there's two things that I can teach there. If you fire a teleport arrow and it's going the wrong place, fire another one. It'll cancel the first. If you fire a teleport arrow and it's going the right place, shard. And it will cancel your teleport arrow. There you go. 2 little tips in 30 ticks, or less. So the other thing to note as well is when you pull a teleport arrow, this works with the crossbow and the bow. If you are aiming at a location that you can teleport to, with the bow, your off hand or your drawing hand vibrates. If you are aiming at somewhere where you cannot teleport to, it will not vibrate. So if I aim here, it's vibrating. A little higher, it's vibrating, 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 and it will carry on because that will loop back down. If I aim into the sky, it is not vibrating, so I can then tell, just by drawing a teleport arrow and aiming it at a location, whether it is going to teleport or not. Damn it. Fuck's sake. Oh, well, never mind. I get it every time except when KT's here, so there you go. Abyss. Now, I would go out on a limb and say, if you can do Abyss, if you can do Paradise Lost, then Abyss shouldn't be too much problems. But Asmodeus is a pain. One of the things that I like to do on Abyss, or something that I think is a good technique if you are just learning Abyss, is to, in an attempt to basically defang the level, as I call it. I will have to do a video on this at some point. And it basically involves going up high and trying to deal with as many of these shitty little cupids as you possibly can without alerting the enemies below. And you do that by either being on their level and firing at them or being way above them. And if you don't miss, then you should be fine. You can like try and cut the distances as well to try and make that a thing. Now, the reason why I say that is, I don't know about anybody else in the Abyss, but about 90% of my damage comes from cupids, because you are busy dealing with all of these ground threats, and all of these guys have got basically air support on a whim. Ugh. You can block these, just get out of the way of them. It's so much easier. They do home in though, so you need to make sure you dodge quite out of the way of them. Shields can block them, but yeah, it's not ideal. When at later stages, a Banshee is probably one of the only enemies in the game that is capable of killing you if you had 2 armor and max health when you're at that. What is it now? Cycle 15, where you can like literally take KO damage in life. So Banshees are very dangerous later on. Thankfully, they're slow and easy to get out of the way of their attacks, but at higher cycles, everything gets faster. So what I've attempted to do is, it's basically threat prioritization, taking out the things that I find are the most annoying first. So I've taken out those cupids, take out these ones. Cupids usually come in groups of 3. If you can't see all 3 of them, that doesn't mean they haven't come in a group of 3. It means that one of them might be somewhere else. However, group of 2, obviously, just to prove me wrong. Another thing that I like to do on this level, which I think is a great play, is skeletons. Now, Abyss is the only level in the game, not pit, where skeletons appear. Let them teleport into a position to attack you, or you don't even have to let them teleport, just let them get to a position where you can deal with them. And oh look, skeletons can't throw nothing. Skeleton warriors, anyway. So what do when they are confronted with you up on a higher level? Well, they just stand still. It kinda works when you're on these railings, but I wouldn't trust them with your life. Sometimes it's good, other times not so much, as you can see here. But if I go on this side, move to the edge, is maybe denoted as somewhere he can't path to. So note how... I mean, he could easily... Oh, he has teleported to me, to be fair. He could easily get me, but what you can count on, what you can trust, is alert them, let them teleport to somewhere that you can get them from, and then teleport up on high. They can't get you. Occasionally, skeleton warriors used to be able to teleport onto roofs. I haven't seen that for a long, long time. When I have seen it, it's specific roofs. It's roofs that have... Oh, they got rid of it. There's some of these roofs have like little gutters running around those bits, and it tends to be those roofs that they can teleport onto. I don't even think they're supposed to, because they are running enemies, and if they teleport up there and try and run at you, 9 out of 10 times they fail, and it also looks stupid. So I think they have basically got a no teleport up there thing. So they're kind of breaking their programming a little bit by doing so. Archers... Oh, hello. Is that... Oh, I thought it was Hand of God. Archers can go up there. Banshees can go up there as well. Banshees hover and float, so they don't look stupid up there. And archers can teleport up there and then teleport around, so they don't mind going up there either. That can happen. Quick look. Now, this is something that I like to do for Fletcher, checking where the pit is. Now that I know that the pit is in there, I know that the guardians for the pit are in there as well. Do I want to be flinging arrows in there willy-nilly? Nope. No thank you. I'll try and lure out what I can. These enemies are particularly nasty in this situation though, because they're going to just keep on spawning. So in this situation, this is where you would pump the room full of Cupid's wraths to try and deal with everything, or at least try and take him out quickly and then retreat. So as you can see, here are our ghost guardians. They will pursue you until they've either despawned or dead, basically. So now, one of the things that we can do with them, if we don't, now that they've been alerted and we don't like these tight confines, is we can simply run away. But if we run away and keep them close enough to us, because they're incorporeal, they'll... Incorporeal? Yeah. They will just teleport through, just move through everything. And so, in that circumstance, if we have cleared everything in this area, we can take them to somewhere where things are at our advantage as opposed to theirs. Somewhere where we've got lots of space to move around. Somewhere where we haven't got other enemies trying to press us, because I cleared most of this, I think. And then that's a much nicer prospect. I would much rather deal with ghosts at this distance. Even if I'm not, like, you know, hitting the white every time. Again, note how I am aiming off and to the right with them as they're coming towards me. And then that can make dealing with the ghost guardians of a pit a lot easier. Bear in mind, every single time a pit is in a level, there will be 3 ghosts guarding it. Be aware of that. I have also met my demise to ghosts guarding pits, because you never expect them. You never see them coming. Hey, it's Agony. Now, I like Agony. There are only 2 pits that there can be on Abyss. Both of these pits are a damn sight easier than the pits that you get in Purgatory. So even if you are new to the game, I would highly recommend you start getting used to these, because they can also be a little bit of a boon to you as far as resources are concerned as well. Pits, when they're fully upgraded and you've got the unlocks for it, do give you more resources. The special arrows in particular are effective on these pits, very effective. Special arrows are the kind of special arrows that someone new would be using, i.e. the homing ones. Not so much on the Purgatory pits or Desolation pits, because most things are ghosts. So, and these pits are also a lot smaller and have a lot less enemies in them. They also work slightly different in their rules. Normally with pits, you have to... Who does agony equals awesome. Right? Agony is definitely the better of the 2 pits, because there are additional resources down here guaranteed. I always like to see Agony in my runs. But also, there is much bigger scoring opportunities in Agony. There are higher HP enemies. Yeah, we'll just do that. Look at that. Absolutely rinses the level. Good old DS's. The way you would... That orphan is probably one of the hardest orphans to kill in the entire game. It's doable at the early cycles, but at the late cycles, it's very hard to get that one without doing so. Now, the way that... Yeah, quite right, Weebs. That's Abyss Archers and Desolation Archers. They always teleport on hit or on effect. So if you hit them with the bubble of a Hand of God, that technically counts as a hit. So they start trying to teleport out of it straight away. So that's one of the few enemies. Desolation Monks do the same as well. Not that anybody's ever really seen Desolation Monks, because nobody ever fucking goes there. So, with these pits, they work a little bit differently, and it's worth noting, because it might catch you unaware. Ooh, we'll take a Tempest. Might be able to show off something. Come on. Oh, that's Holy Light. Fuck off. Ah, fuck off. Yep. This is one way to get arrows that you don't need. Oh, fine. Go in, then. This is one way to get arrows that you don't need out of the way of ones that you do. It seems to be insisting on... Can I have the Tempest, please? When has it ever needed line of sight? Usually seeing the words is enough. Oh, fuck off. Used to be, anyway. Right, let's get the Tempest on. So, as Weeb says, if I hit that guy and it doesn't kill him, he will teleport, and he will probably teleport somewhere nasty. With the pits, in the normal pits, after you've killed a certain amount of enemies... Has my battery discharged early? Yes, it has. God, these batteries are getting shockingly bad. I'm going through all 5 in a stream now. Bad. Bad, bad times. Ooh, steady. Hold on, I'm doing a battery check. Cool, we're good. In the Abyss pits, once you have killed enough enemies, the Guardian to the exit, i.e. the one incubi that is here, that's another thing as well, there's only ever one incubi in these pits, and he is the Guardian. Until you've killed enough enemies... He is made of stone. There we go. Until enough enemies have been killed, he is made of stone. Once he is not made of stone and you kill him, that's what triggers the portal to appear. So there are times when it may be, for instance, you are on death's door and you really could see what those rewards are going to be. You could trigger enough enemies. As soon as he is... like catches line of sight of you, is pretty much alerted for the rest of the level. You can then kind of teleport away up here and wait for him to teleport in, knowing that when you kill him his rewards will appear, and then you can snatch them from all the way over here without alerting anything. It can keep you going in a nasty scenario. I don't know if Tempests will work here. One of the things to note is Tempests can and are capable of headshots, but you have to aim very high above the enemy. See, that was a headshot. You can tell by the noise and the amount of damage as well. Tempests are good for that, but you are limited on the amount of them, and to be fair, that is a waste of a Tempest, because you can just as easily... You don't need to get headshots on these guys to kill them, and you can kill them all the way back here. I mean, I would like to get headshots. There we go. And this is part of the reason why Agony is awesome, because in Despair, you would get your pit rewards and anything that any of the enemies spawned. In Agony, you are guaranteed your pit rewards and the rewards from those 2 summoners. You will always get a roll of something. Let's see if we can... Nope, no headshots. You can see him teleport there on the hit. Oops. That was a headshot. What you have to imagine... Oh, I can use the quiver as an example. What you have to imagine when you're firing a Tempest is that you're like firing that. This is a really good example. 2 seconds, lads. I found a really good example. I've never been able to do this. So that's a really good example of what you are firing when you are aiming a Tempest. Think that if you're firing that in the middle, that's what you are firing out. And then the further and further and further it gets away, the narrower and narrower and narrower that circle becomes. And if you want to get a headshot with Tempest, which is very important in the Siege of Heaven game, you want to be trying to hit them with this bottom part of the Tempest shot, like almost grazing the top of their heads. It's why, for instance, it's very difficult to get a Tempest headshot on a Cupid. It shouldn't be too difficult to get one on here, but you'll also see it's not that consistent. It's very hard to do. It's part of the reason why getting that bingo shot and scoring the maximum out of it is still very RNG and difficult. It actually depends on the movement of the enemy and what part of their animation they're within. Like, because he had his armor over his head, that Tempest probably hit his arm first before his head. And even that wasn't a headshot, and I thought that would be nothing but there you go. See if we can get these guys. I usually find if you want to get headshots on standard enemies, to try and shoot down on them, but still trying to... Oh, that was a double. Lovely. But still trying to catch them with the bottom edge of this imaginary circle. So, like, for instance, that it would more often than not be a headshot because they are lower. And the reason being is there's less other things the enemy has to catch. Now, why is that important? Why is it important to strive to get headshots with Tempests? Well, as I said, Tempest is, if you are new to the game, or even medium or average to the game, Tempest is probably an arrow that you are either should be using or are still using. It makes the game easier for you, especially whilst you are learning. Did I just hear somebody teleport? No. And whilst doing that, it's improving your scoring and you're getting more headshots. The thing with improving your scoring at those earlier stages is it is also, because you're getting headshots, improving the amount of gold that you get. The more gold that you get, the more things that you can buy in the shop when they come along. Now, later on in this game, gold becomes completely irrelevant. The only thing that you need to buy are quivers, and they're always so cheap in comparison to the amount of gold that you've got that you could buy all 5 quivers in every shop each and every time, and you would still have gold left over because you get silly amounts of gold. But in the early game, when you are constructing your quiver and you're putting your favourite arrows together, it can sometimes be a bit touch and go as to whether you've got enough money. So late game, not a problem, but yeah. And then obviously, the higher you score, like this is what people who are new to the game should be using Tempests for. That. I didn't really have to aim. I've got 2 for 1, and those are threats to me and my existence within this level. And that is, like, Tempest is a really good one for, as I call it, defanging the level. I've taken out 2 very high priority threats. Another one there. Let's take him out with a Tempest. For me, I would say that those are not wasted shots if I was new, because it's Cupids that'll hit me. Guaranteed. Not because they're accurate, because they're inaccurate. If an arrow is being fired straight towards me, I can use slow time to get out of the way of it. If an arrow is being fired where I'm going, I can stop. I can show an example of that later as well, because that's something you can manipulate at the early levels and then can manipulate at the late levels when you make use of slow time. Let's go and get this summoner first. These guys with the stars on their head, they are created by summoners, and you score absolutely nothing from them, whether they have the stars on their head or whether they don't have the stars on their head once you kill their master. Right. Enemies. Woo. I do find as well when you hit in groups, if your first one is a headshot, the other ones have a good chance of being so as well. And headshots is what you should be aiming for, so it's how you score. So why aim anywhere else? As Beanie says, aim small, miss small, which is probably not what you want to hear when you are first starting the game, but it is a good piece of advice for that sort of like middle to late game. You should, in the middle... Oh, not middle to late game, the middle to late of your IDU path, career, what have you. You should be aiming for headshots. It's what does the scoring. Anybody, like for instance, anybody who's like, oh, I can get to cycle such and such, but my score sucks. It's headshots. Every time. Every single time. And that's fine. Headshots are difficult. So, I miss enough. Again, these are not the shots that you should be taking, because at later cycles you will get absolutely punished for missing those shots unless you can hit those shots first time every time. And even then, with the amount of life that enemies get and the alert radiuses of those enemies, getting into sniping duels with archers, they are a better shot than you, basically. And this is also the other problem. Firing shots off, I have no idea what's going on within that well, I do, but let's pretend I have no idea what's going on over there, and enemies start teleporting down my throat, and they're the ones that will get the damage on me. Also note as well that I'm staying quite high on this level where I can and making use of the rooftops. Why? Because then nothing can get me. Yes, yeah, no, you can definitely do that. Yeah, they'll stop at the braziers, and there's lots of places that they'll actually do that as well. Lots of like various pillars and various bits and pieces. So this is a pretty good example of a way to do things top down. So we're taking out the threats. See, it's not the accuracy of those arrows that gets you. It's the fact that they fire them unpredictably, and usually there's more than one set. So you can have like anywhere between 4 and 6 arrows, and even I could struggle to get out of the way of that. They're always quite slow as well, and they seem to be the hardest ones to predict. Skulls, regardless of the fact that those flaming skulls, regardless of the fact that they are a headshot, technically, and worth a fair amount of points in Siege of Heaven, they are only worth the gold that you get for killing them, and that amount of gold is pathetic. So don't get them thinking that you're scoring well. I did some testing the other day. That was worth 5 points. That was worth 6 points. That was worth another 5 points. Probably a little bit extra for a cycle bonus as well. I did a little bit of testing the other day and found out that executioner bonus, I thought doubles in pits. It doesn't. So another black mark against the taboo that is executioner. So here's a cool thing. Only do this if you have the skull timer achievement to top level. You can shield bash these out of the way, and when you shield bash them, it resets their timer. Note how far away they're flying before they explode. You can get trick shots, but yeah, listen to this one. He was ready to explode just before I hit him, and doing that resets the timer. Be careful when you are hitting those skulls away. That is not the way to take them out. It is a last-ditch thing, i.e. one surprises you. Always try and hit them up as well, and they will kind of go in the direction of the swipe. Yes, you can do trick shots with that. No, it doesn't reward you with much extra gold. Not enough to make it worthwhile. Let me tell you, I've tried extensively. There are achievements for doing that, and bashing them into enemies is a good one. Do bear in mind that if you bash a skull and it hits anything, it will explode. So an enemy that you might have been able to teleport away from that you thought was a good idea to bash might hit the wall and damage you when you could have just got away. Yeah. It's because a lot of the time as well with arrows from Cupids, you're not actually in danger if you can see the arrows once they've fired. Try and give you an example. If you can see the arrows, then you're fine. It's when you can't see the arrows. Might have to move. Oh, shit. It's when you... it's only armor, I don't need it at this stage. It's when you can't see the arrows. Like those arrows... I can only just see, and because of the trails, so those ones are inbound. Whereas, again, don't do this, this is stupid. Sometimes they'll fire them, and those ones are inbound as well. You guys are getting more accurate. So again, using slow time to just step out of the way, and I'm using my play space here as well. Look at those ones. Too low. And not on target, idiot. And if I was further away, that would be even easier a dodge. But again, power of slow time. Oh, that one's might hit me. I'll just move out of the way. A lot of the time as well, again, it's indeterminate. I mean, I could extensively test these things, but it feels like your hitbox is from about your forehead to about your precious belly button. And so anything that passes through that will be registered as a hit. So that is something worth bearing in mind when you're panicking when lots and lots and lots of arrows are coming in, but they're all going like quite low. You can't take damage from being shot in the foot, basically. Even though technically you should be able to be, but... Anyway, so this one's a good example of an area that we can defeat top-down. I've had a lot of experience, again, in Mortal, doing this. I like to do these guys... It is easier, I'll show you the easier way, because these cathedrals will nearly always appear at the end of one of the two levels of Abyss. It's easier to kill those ones. Kill the ones there. Take your shots across here. But remember there is one down below as well. And then go round the outside. I would do this in Mortal, but I'd be using a lot more slow time. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Mortal is a mode where no special arrows, you get all the slow time, everything takes one hit, including you, and then it's back to the start. It's a punishing mode. Very punishing. So you do all of those bits and pieces. Then I like to go around the outside. There's usually a couple of archers here. These are the last two Cupids, providing you've dealt with the ones at the top. There can be some abomination. Oh, there he is. Can be some abominations here. Shooting at that guy from here will alert the guys that are below. Note how they all teleported up into my field of view. They didn't teleport behind me or round to the left or right of me. They teleported in front of me where they could. Firing shots into there does alert these knights. Very careful of doing that. I like to take that shot on the incubi right up the top. Yeah, I'd usually kill that one and then take my shots from up here because there isn't a path. Hang on, let me think. There isn't a path from down there that leads to up here, so you can then indiscriminately shoot and kill. Like, he can't path round to me, so he'll throw axes. Useless, lads. Useless. We can also do that thing that I was talking about. We can potentially... Oh, no, I'm not going to be able to. There's stairs. I might be able to on him. No, they're not going to allow it. Never mind. Let's just get them done. But this is a place that you could do it from the battlements, actually. So I can still see them. And there's probably enough of my hitbox. Oh no, the crenellations are doing their job. If I was on top... Hello, Laurent. If I was on top, I'm in range for axe throws. For the most part. Better. There you go. So, that one's mainly made from mortal, so that I can take that on. But it's not. But it's a reasonably safe route, which is why I do it. So, these guys will throw those axes as long as I am on top of the battlements. But note that because I put the crenellations in the way, they can't see... Or the reason why I think this works is they can't see enough of my hitbox to want to waste an axe on me. So they just stay there and happily get headshotted. And of course, remember, the further away they are, the more points they are worth. Note how we're in the 900s on the damage front for a headshot. And in the 240s, 250s for a body shot. And that is also another important lesson. The further away an enemy is with the bow, the more damage they take. The more progress you make in the main game, the more that becomes relevant. So, because there are various power-ups which add additional various achievements, sorry, that add additional bonus multipliers to those factors. And so they make a weapon system that has increased damage the further the arrow travels, and it is the further the arrow travels, not oh no, is it the distance? I won't go into the details, I won't go into the technicals of it, but it's distance. As a general rule, the further they are away, A, the more you score, B, the more damage they take. The crossbow is the opposite in the damage category. Same in scoring, further they are away, more score you make, but the closer they are, the more damage they take. The crossbow is the better weapon system to learn on. And then you can get a real man's weapon, can't you, Laurent? Mr. Courtier, our top man on Mortal and Fletcher. Don't think I'm going to be able to catch him this season. It's going to be very touch and go. Very, very, very touch and go. Don't think I just don't think I can hit that many million. It's going to be very difficult. And Fletcher, ooh, very difficult indeed. Very difficult. So this is the way that you should be attempting these levels, is you should be able to pick out one enemy, take it out. Excuse me. This is why Cupids are difficult. Again, he didn't actually teleport behind me. What'll have happened is when I fired at the first one, it would have alerted that Cupid, and he would have decided to teleport there. I've then moved past where he has already decided to teleport, and then he is teleported behind me. So enemies other than skeleton archers cannot actually purposely teleport behind you in this game. If they do, it's because of what I've just shown you. Just then. Good scoring off of these boys. Good old Abyss archers. Just as good at points as Desolation archers. I'm finding, Laurent, aren't you? For the gold purposes, at the very least. Good old bit of Desolation. A little bit riskier, but I think it's worth the reward. Don't have to worry. Again, this is why you need to engage skulls, the flaming skulls, at long range. But be mindful of where your additional arrows that you miss, because you will, because they're small targets at distance, where they are going. But note how I can't alert these guys unless I am close enough to them that they can come to me. They'll just stay put and just be flamey and scully. And so I can target practice on them and eventually get it right. There we go. Worth sod all points, but yeah, there you go. Hello, Koska. I don't think... You'll be happy to know, Koska, that I don't think I've got time to compete on the Pico leaderboards this season. I have a little bit of a job on, thanks to a certain somebody. So, yeah. I might do, but it's getting to the point where I can't see the reason. Well, yeah, I guess. Oh, that's good. That's good. I don't have to go and do the Pico boards then. Cool, you can come and compete with the real boys in quest spaces. Scoring's a bit bigger, isn't it, Koska? Oh. And we slow time, and we step. And we step back. There's somebody grumbling below me. I have to sort you out in a minute. Yeah, it's harder to show you my, like, arch trick on this level, because the roofs are not quite as... I suppose... not quite as easy to do it on. Oh, hello. Now, here's another thing that I like to do on a level, early or late stages. If there's a holy armor and you can be bothered to go back for it, it is better and more worth your time to wait to get that holy armor if you haven't already got holy armors. And the reason being is you might take a hit, and that hit might have been the holy armor that you pick up. It would be much better for you to take that holy armor to the next level or to the boss and give you more chance. But then, having said that, if you're going to lose it, you're going to lose it, so it doesn't matter too much. Oh, why'd you move? Silent one. Looking at the walls, as per usual. Shielded enemies, shot to the nuts or knee, you know. Adventuring days are over, but that ain't scoring me anything. Again, it doesn't matter too much with White Knights if you put a shot in them to stagger them and then headshot them. At this stage of the game, you're going to one-shot, headshot, KO them anyway because of their life, but only do that on the early cycles. At the later cycles, when you're able to get 2 headshots out of them before they die, if you hit them in the body, then hit them in the head, that will kill them, and it's halving the points. Yeah, no worries, Fawn. Thank you very much for joining us. See you later. I think we've got enough time to get Asmodeus done and do a little bit of a tutorial on that. That was a lucky headshot. We smile and say thank you for those ones, because I was not aiming for that. I do say, as I said previously, do try and aim for the head, especially at those longer ranges. At Cupids, I give you a bit of a break on that one. That is a tiny target. And it is more likely to get you killed or hit than it is worth the point shield. So again, note how I'm going for the knights. They're the threat. These abominations, they can't do anything to me, so we'll just leave them. They're also at a nice little distance. I could improve my scoring by jumping up the top. I find that it is easier with abominations to shoot them either on their level or slightly above. If you try to headshot them from here, it's an even finer swaying target, and you've got a good chance of hitting them in the shoulder. Hello, Meg. Hey, guess what? Beanie's been spotted on the leaderboards. You need time to start putting some work in, girl like me. We will get on to... I think we're going to do some... With Meg here, better say. I think we're going to see about doing some... Onward this weekend, and then potentially some... Dungeons of Eternity the following weekend. That was a bad teleport, wasn't it? What is that I hear? A spaceman? No, it's an orphan. Yeah, it's... Well, I mean... What is it, June or is it July that it's officially the start of summer? I never know. I think it's June. Beanie started scoring on the leaderboards on Siege of Heaven, but that doesn't really mean anything. Siege of Heaven is where I would go for a quick score. But it's when he starts putting a proper run in, and I don't think he has yet. So, I think we're alright. I'm going to throw a fucking fit if they don't give us actual warning this season. It will annoy me greatly. I missed out on a lot of legend points because it was like, oh yeah, season's over, guys. Yeah, nice one, thanks. Normally we get like at least a week's notice. But again, that in of itself is sign of the times that, you know, I did not expect us to get a tournament after that. I was like, oh yeah, nobody clearly cares anymore. They're just fucking resetting the board willy-nilly whenever they want to. But thankfully I was wrong, and we got the return to Pit Runner, which I thoroughly enjoyed. So, here's how you control orphans, I guess. This would be a good lesson, wouldn't it? If they get far away from you, get close to them. If you are close to them, they cannot teleport away, even if they have started teleporting. And she will carry on running. If I interposed myself between her and the enemies that she's running to, there is a chance that she'll turn around and go the other way. It isn't, as you can see, it isn't a totally gameable strategy. Yeah, I mean, I never left, but you know. We need a competitive, we need some sort of leaderboard mode in dungeons. Something that's like skill-based as opposed to time-based. So, now that I've killed everything, let's see the orphan's behaviour. Now, she's run out of room to run. If I go into her path, she should run back up that way, or teleport to then run back up that way. But note how she's not leaving. And she's not leaving because I am close enough to her. Also note that when she gets close enough to me, she teleports away. If we get far enough away from her... Don't follow me, you idiot! Fucking animal and children, just can't work with them. If she gets far enough away from me... she'll begin that. And that is her leaving. You can hear the sound. If you let that finish, she will leave. Easiest way to stop it? Teleport nice and close. And then she will stop her teleport. The other way to stop it is if she is taking tick damage, or a hit is enough to stop her. Yeah, I have got something to demonstrate the tick damage. Note how I am really far away, so she should normally teleport, but she didn't. Why didn't she? Because she was taking tick damage. Same as when she tries to teleport away now, and she takes damage, she stops teleporting. But she is... So this is kind of that sweet spot where you can make a decent amount of points in headshots, and as long as you hit them, and she won't move from there because she is far enough away to be confident that she'll teleport away from you. But when she gets hit, you interrupt that process, but she won't run any further because she thinks she's safe. Ah! So those are parts and parcels of the dealings with orphans, but then obviously they have a lot more health than that later on, and so you do use those tactics, but then you, if you want to try and kill the orphan quickly, that's what you would use some of the heavier hitting arrows that we have for. Right, this one, the way that I like to deal with this, we deal with the outsides to make a safe spaces that we can retreat to. We deal with the back, and then your choices are to come in from one of those sides, the front or the back. I like to come in from the sides myself, but let's deal with these guys first. So I find the best way to deal with them is usually from up top. The reason being is because then there's no chance of you alerting at angles any of the enemies that are through that doorway before we've dealt with anything. However, if you do bounce to here, then, you know, there's a big old wall, so they can't see you through that. Yeah, no worries, dude. I'm almost done. And then we'll go and see if old Indy is still on. He's playing Showdown with Chat at the moment, so I might go and have a quick game with him. I don't know. But I dare say he's got loads of people who wants to play with him. He's a popular boy. So we've killed the ones at the front. I haven't killed the ones at the back yet, but we should be okay. And I find visually luring these ones, not arrows, and bringing them out to here. And then this is the important part. Putting a wall between us and where the enemies are. I don't want to fight them. Don't want to fight them on that diagonal. Oh, pass through. I don't want to fight them on that diagonal, and the reason being is if I miss that shot and it tears into the room, it's probably going to alert more enemies, and then they all just come piling in. So now that we've been able to visually lure some from that side, let's go back the other... Oh, I should clear the back, shouldn't I? Because there are quite a lot of enemies out here, and they're kind of freebies. Oh, yeah, all these headshots. Oh, yeah. Again, don't block them, dodge them. Because there's plenty of times where I should have blocked and it's just gone through the heat shield or just over or just around, and it's very annoying. Just get out of the way. So let's go this side and have a look. There's probably not going to be an awful lot left in this room. We did pull like 4 out. And then this is the other thing that you can do. Is once you've pulled some of the room out, you can then kind of inch around. Hi. This way? Yeah. And then lure some more out. And again, note how even if I am shooting, I want to be shooting at this angle so that any strays fly off into the ether that we've already cleared. I do not want to be firing at that angle because any misses go flying into the room. That alerts lots of enemies. That sends lots of things coming on you. Now, not that there's a lot in there, but that stray did alert an extra abomination. And, you know, if you're used to dealing with 1, maybe 2 enemies at a time, that third one might be too much for you. So now that we've cleared like this side of the room, we can... Oh, there's a guy, there's a guy. And if we fire arrows in, it has the risk of alerting other enemies. But at this stage, we're probably alright. Now, note, teleported directly into my field of view. Thanks very much, fellas. Most appreciated. One of the things you can do with these abominations is you can lure them outside. Once they have been activated, like a good abomination should, it will chase you to the end of fucking time. If we alert him, and you can tell by the laughter and the flamey noises and so on, and then come outside, even if he goes silent, he can teleport outside to you. He'll try again and teleport into field of view. I find that they're a little bit more limited into where they can teleport. And you remember how I said that they've got massive heads and usually lots of HP? Well, then let's go and construct that headshot by getting really far away from him. Oh yeah, he's lower than that. We'll get really far away from him. He will teleport to us eventually. Where you go? Nope. It's usually the laughter that he does when he's about to teleport. So that's not a bad distance. It's probably not much more than what we had down there, but that's a way that you can score extra by bringing the... All you have to do is alert them. Just have a peek and they'll be alerted. A lot of the time you can alert the abomination without alerting a lot of the other things in the room as well, just by kind of like peeking around the corner and having a look up. Once you've got them turning towards you, you can leave. Their teleport distance is quite huge, and then you can bring them up to somewhere like here and construct some very, very, very long-range headshots. Let's have that quiver. Top up the old freezers. So we'll do a quick little tutorial on Asmo, and then we will go and see what Indy's on with. See if he's got a proper manly stream on that lasts multiple hours instead of one of his new indie VR streams where he can only keep it going for a couple of hours. A noob. Is anyone watching him at the moment? Kim, I figured you might be. Is he still streaming at the moment, or is he off? I have got this set up to go to his, if he's still streaming, obviously. I have warned him tonight as well. So if ever anybody wants to have a look at some Contractors Showdown, he's playing with the people that are in it, or even if anybody wants to play Contractors Showdown live, he will oblige you. That's actually quite rare. Ooh. Good old battery overheating once more. Oh, that's 4 batteries of my 5 down. Yep. 1 left. It's getting a bit dire, this is. I'm going to have to get this new headset thing. Need to have a word with Bobo. Right. Asmo. Easy. "6 a.m. So, couple of things with Asmo. You can't get into this lava, I don't think. I haven't tried recently. Are you able to walk off into it anymore? Yeah, you probably could in some of those. You have to be careful. I think it's just there now. These ones, I don't think you can walk off the edge anymore. No, you are stopped. You can step off the edge and that can cause you damage, so just be careful of that. But this first platform, this second platform, also know that you can't actually go into the lava by missing a teleport shot. And if you are still concerned, remember this whole, if you are aiming at a thing and let go, like that was not vibrating when I let go, then it's not going to land, and you're not going to land either. Whereas aim a little bit lower, starts vibrating, you're able to land, so it'll allow you to teleport. So, one of the easier ways I think you can deal with Asmo, I would usually fight in front and center like this. Pop a boil, deal with the skulls. Use silly amounts of slow time whilst you are doing this. So, hit a boil, slow time, shot, slow time, shot, slow time, shot, slow time. No, I don't have the S3. I've got the normal one, and it used to be fine, but it's just getting worse and worse the longer I run the batteries. So here's the thing. If you take 2 steps back, so go back to this second stepping stone, and hang, I think you can go anywhere on it. I've always gone to the far right. Yeah, with reason. You have to be on this far right area. The Asmo cannot hit you from here, yet you can still hit him. Now, it does give you more time to deal with the skulls that are flying at you, but there is the possibility that they can take like a wicked curve underneath the lava, which is a bit shit, but this is one way to deal with him if you lose a lot of life on him or you're struggling. Oops. Like, for instance, you can smash loads of special arrows into him from back here. Do try and have as many of the achievements to do with skull explosion times unlocked before you try against him. It makes him a lot easier. But we could just sit back here in the comfort of not being able to be hit by any of his attacks and try and pop his blisters and then shoot the skulls. But as I said, sometimes they go under the lava and die. Most of the time they go under the lava and blow up. But this can make the first stage of Asmo easier if you like your long range side of things. The other thing that you could use this for, after 3 stone tosses, Asmo, the old boy, gets a little bit tuckered out, as you'll see. So this is his 3rd one, and he stops for a little while, has a little think about life, and then thinks, you know what, the last 27 rocks that I've thrown haven't been effective, let's try another 3. And now he's thinking, well, that's 30, But what about 31, 32, and 33? And this will go on indefinitely. What we can use this for, though, is we wait until the third toss, and then we teleport. And now I've got a little bit of time where he's not going to move, and I can exaggerate that time with slow time and miss his boil. And then when you get to a later stage of the game, you'll find that you can hit these boils, and I'm not even aiming these arrows. I'm firing them quickly, just in the general direction. But bear in mind, I've done this many times before. You just have to register their order and then shoot in the general direction. As they're coming at you, they become such big targets that they're actually probably more difficult to miss than they are to hit. This second stage, as soon as you have finished, you need to be teleporting up to this point. And this is so you can start getting the drop on these enemies before they can get the drop on you. And then you need to continue that impetus, try and take those 3 cupids out. What I then like to do is move over here, because you can stand here and look here, and the abominations shouldn't advance on you at all because they can't path to you, and the archers will move into your line of sight, because as we now know, that's what a good archer does. They'll either teleport if you're looking that way, or if you're looking that way, or, I don't know, throw themselves into the lava, whatever that fucking idiot did. And then note how these guys are standing stock still, as if we are on a raised platform, because they can't path to us. As soon as we move out there, they'll start getting all feisty again. Try and take out threats here, which are the archers. Ow, that was way... These are... Like, well, I'll do it next stream. But these fireballs are way too fast. That is not cycle 1 fireballs. That's very annoying. But again, at this, when I start getting to sort of like cycle 6, cycle 7, that's when I'll be concerned about keeping my armor. At the moment, it doesn't really matter. Another bit of scoring to be done here. We can get far away from him, and each time we headshot him, he gets a little bit further back. That guy was probably worth about 2 grand, 2,000 points, something like that. And then we wait. If you have homing arrows, you can take this guy out super early. As soon as he's finished his roar, those spots become his weak points that you can normally hit, but you can fire these and they'll curve round. What we're supposed to do, destroy the Hadoken skull. That then weakens him on one side. These are called dorsal flanges. I fucking love that word. It's the only time I ever get to say it other than in reference to aliens. A few hits on those. You can hit them from here, but it's very difficult. Damn. I'll do that. Damn it! When actually, I'll extend this out a little bit so I can show you the dodging technique as well. And he should change from side to side. Too used to playing this on Fletcher. Missing that shot. So you destroy one of those, and then, or whether you destroy it or not, after he's been weakened, he'll then throw rocks at you. But he'll always, what I like to do is dodge into the rocks with my shard. I've never been hit doing it that way. Dodging away from them or backwards from them, it can be sometimes difficult to judge which way they are going. If you shard into them, they can't hit you because you've already gone through their trajectory. And note that the sharding process to strafe left and right is literally, I like to call it voguing. It's not, but moving the your hand in front of you. Vogue, sort of, I guess. But moving your hand in front of you while spamming the shard button. Now, I usually like to be on this platform here before they start coming down, and I can demonstrate why. Because if I'm on this platform before they come down, it means I can teleport up here before these guys are here, so I can be like on them as soon as they arrive. Wasn't quite as on it as usual, but there you go. But again, that can be quite a difficult teleport shot to make when you're under pressure of trying to do it. Now, this is the important part. The most important part about Asmo. Do not kill anything here except that guy. That archer. That archer can get fucked. The reason being is because if you kill too many of these enemies, the next wave will spawn. Kill all of them, and when an infinite wave of 4 cupids will spawn. Leave them all alive, nobody else spawns. And so all you have to do is get out of the way of these abominations. And we can do that quite easily. This, again, if you had Hand of God, you could drop one there, and then they'll have a very hard time catching up to you. Part of the reason, so then you can get front and center, and you can start taking out these horns as soon as he stops yelling, and then when you hear the boys coming up behind, you can dodge out of the way. Do bear in mind that those boulders are one of a few things in the game that can do friendly fire. He can crush these abominations with those rocks. But what we're going to do is stay out of the way of those boulders, lure these guys over, teleport back to a good firing position, and you want to concentrate on one horn and then do the other. And if you've got divine sight, notch one of them up and look at the horns, and it will do all the work for you. Divine Sight 5 is an Asmo killer. You can use Divine Sight 5 at the 2 hardest stages, the Hadoken skulls and that one, and they can take him out quick shot. Do not use them on the boils. Cool, Asmo done. Cycle 1 complete, a pathetic 5.5 million almost. So not a very good score, but doesn't matter. It's only early doors. I can get quite far, so we should be able to rack up many million by the time we are done. Now, the way to use Wrath of God, for those of you who are still using it at the moment, do not fire it directly at your enemies. Who wants to arc it in quite a shallow arc. The more hang time Wrath of God has over and around your enemies, the more times it will electrocute. That will make it a more powerful arrow for clearing areas and clearing various bits and pieces. If you shoot it directly at them or attempt to stick it into them, the best shot that you can make with a Wrath is to arc it up and over them, which is why it's best used with the bow. Give it as much airtime as possible, and then it to land into an enemy as well. That's probably the most value that you can get out of it. You can take a lot of hit points off of enemies, but as we have said, that's not headshots. It will clear entire areas and clear all of the enemies, but it ain't doing your points total any good. So again, it's a fun arrow to use. Please film it. Yeah, right. I've come close a couple of times when I'm Fletcher and cycling my arrows, and I've gone oops and fired one. It's like, oh no, that's a hit. Right, so this is why we did what we did at the start of Desolation for our scoring run. We got a golden bat in Desolation, and because we killed that golden bat in Desolation, we got the reward, and the golden bat has now transferred over to Purgatory. It's not a lot, but there is a, well, not even a good chance. There's it's an extra spawn of potentially a decent arrow. One of our 2 Winter's Bites that we picked up has been from the golden bat. I do this for it to give myself a better chance of hitting Hand of God early. The reason being is not that I need it, but I like to get my quiver set up and ready so that I don't have to touch it ever again once all the good stuff is in there. I don't think we've seen a Volley 5. Normally I would take Cat 5s, but we're going to carry on, whilst I'm doing this season run, we're going to carry on going through Anakim in the motions of snow globing him or slow rolling him or working the room. We haven't actually slow globed him yet because we haven't used Hand of God. Not that we need it, but these are all things that are worthwhile doing doing on the early stages. And it's also another live video where if anyone's asking or wants to see it done specifically or properly or a different way. So, I mean, it's not a bad score, but, you know, we should be getting... If I was going quicker and faster, we should be in the sort of, like, I don't know, 650 to 700s, and also making distance on enemies and killing them at extremely long ranges with headshots. You can do that quite easily on a lot of the levels to up your score, but we're not too worried about at the early stages because I probably won't even be able to get into the top 15 because 10 million takes a very, very long time, and I might not even have time to do it. I'm not gonna, might probably be better off getting in the crossbow of the top 10. 10 million I can do, but close to the 15, 20s, that's just a lot of time. Obviously, the further we go, the more enemies are worth in headshot and gold as well, but mainly in headshot damage. So, yeah, on that bombshell, I think we will end it there. This has been In Death Unchained. This has been the beginning of my bow run for this season. I'm hoping to be able to carry this on over the next few weeks, but we'll probably have some breaks, and what I will most likely do is advance things along a little bit in my time. I think doing cycle 1 is important, showing you cycle 2 and 3 is important, and then I'll probably do a bit of work in my own time to get me into the sort of like 7, 8, and then show that off, and then do another bit of work in my own time to get us into the higher cycles, so you can see what the future holds. This has been In Death Unchained on the Quest 3 native. I have been Silver Tongue Devil. Good night.